Okay.
Okay, we ready?
Yes, sir.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's Monday, November 30th, 6:32, actually. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Roll call. We don't want to do roll call. Or we do?
With it being like that, we probably need to. Kevin Featherston.
Leon Meyer.
Robin Meyer.
Chris Burkett.
And Rhonda is online with us as well. Everybody stand for invocation, pledge allegiance.
Heavenly Father, we come to you tonight to ask you for your guidance and your wisdom as we try to move our city forward. Give us the courage and the wisdom to make the right decisions. Watch over our city staff and our city workers and our citizens as they go about their daily lives. Watch after our leaders of our state and our country. And we ask that you bless each and every one of us. We appreciate everything that you do for us. And we ask all of these things in your name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do we have any citizen input?
I do. This is from Jacqueline Nichols. She is an Arrowhead Edition. She says, with the recent departure of one of the water utility workers, there is a rumor that the remaining water utility staffer isn't properly licensed, certified by the state of Texas. Can you please confirm this? And if this is the case, what is being done to get a properly licensed employee? Jacqueline Nichols.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Nichols. Okay, just to the audience, just so everyone's on the same sheet here. This is not a regular meeting, and it's not a special session, it's a workshop. So you're gonna see a lot of open and free discussion about some things that we're trying to get a handle of. And some of these things may end up on our December the 8th meeting. There'll be no voting on anything tonight. It'll just be pure open discussion. With that in mind, 5A, discuss future of code enforcement structure. That's something you want to address?
I'm gonna defer and turn it over to Kevin.
Okay.
So I did a lot of thinking into this. Some of my brainstorming that I've had, I've called the chief, I don't know, several times, probably bugged him a little bit, and I apologize. No, you're fine. So I think we're going in the right direction with this. I think we all agree that the code enforcement needs to be within our police department, right? That's kind of been a consent agenda for everybody. I mean, so that part of it's pretty easy. What I want us to start thinking about and what I wanted to try to bounce off everybody was, what ideas do you all have as far as how this plays out, how we structure it? And I want to go ahead and put in the front end of how we structure it is financially how we structure it, okay? Because at the end of the day, I think if any one of us in this room, if you're doing a job, and even if it's within the same job, quote unquote, scope, right? And let's just call it, say, if you're in the water department, right? And when you're in the water department, typically maybe you're only doing water leaks, or you're doing whatever, and then all of a sudden they say, well, we want you to start doing potholes, or we want you to start doing sewer leaks. Well, that person that was hired, if they were hired just to do, just in the water department, they might think, well, now that I'm gonna be doing sewer leaks and you want me to fix potholes too, maybe they wanna make more money, right? Now, there's gonna be different positions, like and it doesn't really go into the water department or our public works, because we hire those people and they know that that's sort of in their scope. But in some places, when you hire somebody, you hire them to do a specific job, right? And now, what we're looking at doing is we're gonna move code enforcement over into the police department. That's gonna be done. Or we did
I
that.
think we
We
did
did that. We made that move in our last meeting. So we've already moved the position over there, but we need to talk about how is that gonna play out. So one thing that I talked to Brandon about, and actually we even had a discussion in the office up here, which it wasn't anything against any kind of code of conduct, but we talked about it a little bit when we were here. Mary, you were there and Brandon was there. So I guess when Brandon and I and you were talking about that, it kind of sparked my interest. And so I called Brandon a few times. I said, hey, what do you think about this? What about this? How about this? And he goes, yeah. And I said, look, I already know it's coming, so I'm gonna go ahead and bring it up. But if we're gonna move this over in the police department, and just so y'all know, the conversations were, what we would do is we'd split the city up into 2 quadrants, okay? So basically we would have, we didn't call it this, but you call it a north quadrant and a south quadrant, right?
We're dividing into 2, that's still a quadrant.
Well, whatever. We'll split the city in half.
I'm just giving you
So,
time.
but in the end result, at some point, we did talk about putting it in the 4s when we could grow this, but right now, we don't have the manpower or the woman power or the anybody power to do that.
If I remember right, it'd be the summer months would be,
We split it up.
because the hours of the day are longer.
So what we're looking at right now, what my idea was, is kind of piggybacking off of Brandon's conversation we had, is we split it up, and he's talking about him and Jordan, right, Brandon? Yes, sir. So it'd be him and Jordan that would be taking care of this. Now, at the end of the day, and I already had this conversation with Brandon, I said, look, I want to go ahead and mention this because I know it's going to come up, because when you guys, we're going to still expect you to do your police work. Bottom line, we're going to, but we're also going to expect them to produce some kind of code enforcement for us, right? We're going to want a result from that. I know what's going to happen is they're going to, some point, somebody's going to go, we're doing all this and this is extra, this is more, we're not getting anything for it, right? And he goes, well, yeah, maybe you're right, whatever. And I said, I know I'm right. We're all human. It happens. So I wanted to plant the seed tonight in this workshop for all of us to be thinking about how would that play out. Now, my thoughts are this, at this point, we know what we want to happen. I think Brandon's plan was a very good plan. I think we can make that work with the 2 officers, officer and the chief. I think we can make that work just to get us started, to get our code enforcement going. But then we review that in 90 days to see what we look like, make sure that they're happy with how it's going. And then maybe we look at hey, this might be what we're going to do. I don't know. But if it is, then we need to look at maybe compensating our employees.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, keep unfolding this. That's just the part of it of somebody going out into the public, right? Now, something that has been conversations was making sure we're cross-trained, making sure people are this and that. We're going to have to be able to figure out a way that when somebody comes in the front door and we have an officer on duty that's out doing something in the field, whether it be a police call or whether it be a code enforcement call, that if somebody comes in and they need a fence permit, they need a whatever permit, that we can produce those. That we don't have to say, well, the world stopped because the person that's working on code enforcement isn't here. But we have permit sheets, right, Brandon? The permit sheets for your general things like fences, culverts, things like that. They're pretty basic, correct?
We're in the process of making me and Leanne talked about that the
Right.
other day.
But right now, we have something that's fairly basic already, because, I mean, I've actually seen one before.
The preset permit.
Yeah, and I mean, that's all fairly basic. I think all we need to do is make sure that we sort of educate our people that's in the office. That way, if somebody walks in and say it's whoever, I'm not gonna call names in this meeting, but whoever's here, they can greet somebody at the front glass and say, how can I help you? And they say, hey, we want to build a fence. Okay, here, take this, fill it out, bring it back. It is that easy, right? From the way I've looked at it.
As far as that, there's a little bit that goes along with how tall it is and the materials and things like that.
Right.
But yeah,
Right,
as far as the payment, yes.
right.
So in that paper, those descriptions could be in there though, correct?
In the
So
back.
write that up to where in the back, your fence has to be this tall, this far away from the structure, this.
Well,
Fill
and
this out, here's the rules on
and
the
here's the
back.
thing, it may not be on the back, but here's the thing, right? The general things like fencing, culverts, give me some other examples.
Vendor permit,
Vendor permits,
animal license,
animal license,
Water
those
heater.
water heater permit.
Water heaters.
those are fairly simple,
Yeah.
right? So the only one that has a whole lot of description to it is really and truly gonna be fencing. The other ones don't have a whole lot of, I mean, there's nothing. to it.
Right, because your plumbing and stuff like that, your plumbing and your electrical and things like that, those are pretty much set.
Yeah, they're basic,
So,
right?
right.
So they're basic. So I think all we have to do is educate our people a little bit. That way, we can keep moving our city forward. So what I don't want to see happen is if we've got some big leaps and bounds being made out in the field, that when somebody comes up here and they're like, well, sorry, you have to come back, well, they never come back, and then they just build their fence on Saturday, or they change their hot water heater on Saturday, or they do whatever on Saturday, right? I think Annette and I had this conversation a couple weeks ago. If somebody walks in the front door of this building, number one, we need them greeted. And number two, if they're trying to ask to spend money in this city, this is a business. Any business that has a door that receives money, when somebody walks in and they pull money out, that business takes that money, some way, somehow, right? They don't say, well, we don't have that product. They may not have that product, but a lot of times they say, we don't have that one, but look at this.
Yeah.
Am I right? Wouldn't that be how you would do that, sir?
She can't talk.
So we need to make sure that we can give out those permits, the basic permits. Now, the ones that have a little bit more complexity to them, then absolutely. We need to have a conversation. We need to take their information. If you can't answer their question, that's fine. But get their information, right? And then we have to make sure that we call them back. We contact them back. And that's something that Brandon and I talked about, that we're gonna make sure that we're contacting these people. If there's a message, and it's the same thing with a call. If somebody calls, whoever takes the call, if they can't answer the question, we gotta take good notes. And we gotta call these people back. How do we know this is not the next $1 million person trying to come into our town to do something? We don't know that.
Right.
But I'm telling you right now, those people, when they call and they feel zero interest in them, they're done with you.
And it makes me wonder how many times that's happened already.
I'm telling you though, they're done with you. And that's just like every one of us. How many times have anybody in this room, how many times have you called somewhere of interest of something and you feel no feeling from the person you're talking to, and you move on to the next one, right? So is what's going on in East Tawakoni, was that an option for us maybe? You have to ask yourself that, don't you?
Yeah.
You have to ask yourself that. Because the land that's being developed down there is way, way less land than what we've got. As what I mean less is less valuable, right? It's all lower lying land. We got such better land here that could have been developed, but it's not being. So you have to ask yourself, did we miss something? And was it because of a phone call? Was it because somebody couldn't get into the front door because it was locked? Or was it because when they talked to somebody, they told them, well, I'm sorry, I don't know. Can't help you. If you don't know, that's fine. Tell them I don't know, but we'll get you an answer. What is your phone number? How do we get in touch with you? Somebody will be in touch with you, right?
And we gotta follow up with that.
We have
Could
to
you,
follow up with
can you
that.
kind of expound on the financial impact? You know, we talked about that.
Yeah, because you have.
Okay, so there was no numbers talked, right, Brandon?
No.
We talked 0 numbers. And here's what I'm saying. I don't want us to talk about a number tonight. I want us as a council to know that it would only be right for us to compensate our people for doing something that is completely
Well,
different, right?
I was more talking about the savings.
Yeah.
Well, the savings side of it is, I mean, it's, in the reality, I think we put 30.
It was 30-something thousand, and then you include insurance. and all
31,
that.
32, but I'm telling you, we can call it close to 50 with all. the
Yeah,
insurance.
right, that's where I'm getting at.
Retirement insurance, all the other, it's close to 50,
Yeah,
okay? Now, at the end of the day, here's what I want to play devil's advocate. If we all look at this and we say, okay, we're gonna move our code enforcement forward, and Chief, we're gonna ask you to move it forward in the best way you see possible, and we have faith in you, and if you're gonna split it up between you and another officer, go for it. Show us some results. But in 90 days, we're gonna review what's going on with our code enforcement. And if we don't like it, then we're gonna have to tell them we don't like it, right?
Yeah.
That would be the question is, why are we considering not hiring somebody? What's the reasoning behind
The
it?
reason why, in my eyes right now, why we're considering hiring somebody is in the financial state we're already in, okay? We got a huge repair that needs to be done at the water plant. We can't even touch it, even if we use the whole salary plus insurance plus everything, if we used it all, we couldn't even touch the repairs needed out there, right?
We can't intermingle that money.
No, we can't, but I'm just saying, just as far as that amount. But we've got computer problems. What other problems are gonna come up within the police department?
that's kind of where I was getting at, is the amount of money we would save.
Now,
temporarily.
one thing that this could help us do is, in the time of need, especially with the COVID doing what it's doing, you know, what are we gonna do if one of our officers or 2 of our officers end up with COVID and we don't have an officer here? Well, guess what? The chief's gonna have to bring somebody in to protect our city. Yes, we can depend on Hunt County, but it would be nice to have the option, if we did have that money within the police department, to bring somebody in, at least on our high days, at least on the weekends, right? And the chief has people, he's got people in his back pocket that he can call, but we're gonna have to pay them. He can't get everybody for free.
All right.
I have a
But-
question
Yes, ma'am.
on this, because I didn't know we were gonna discuss structuring it like this. So I went on the Texas Department of Licensing and Regulation,
Mhm.
and this Brandon, you can probably ask this question for me. Would you, if you took this on and another officer took this on, would you have to go through that training? I think it's $50, I believe is what I read, and I think you can even do it online. Would both of you have to do that, or would that fall within the scope of your police training?
It falls in the scope of police training. If you become a police officer, you take an oath to enforce the state, local laws, and local laws include city code. So you're enforcing the code part of it. We could go to the class later on if we wanted to.
Okay.
We can get into, and where it really helps you out is, and correct me if I'm wrong, Lee, as you went to, when you get into, when you're working on new construction, they talk about that in that, and what's considered, you know, I don't know, help me here.
Really the one that I went to was just basic.
Oh, basically.
Yeah, that's all it was.
Yeah, I think.
But
it's
then
basic
it's-
Information. So you guys are gonna know all that anyway, 'cause it's all basic.
So we're gonna be enforcing the basic ordinances we have here. And by enforcing that, we don't have to go to that class to do that.
Okay.
When you move it over to the police department, it falls under a total different scope. I mean, we're still gonna give people the 10-day grace period to fix the problem. But the only thing that we're gonna take, one of the only things we're gonna take into account during that 10 days is inclement weather. So if it's raining, if it's bad weather and you can't get the project done, that's fine. If you're cleaning it and we get there and you're making an effort towards it, but you need a little bit more time, we understand. But if you just don't touch it or do anything with it, and it's just like it was when we got there after the 10 days, you're probably going to get a citation. And then it's going to move forward. And I think we've reached a point where with this code enforcement, I think by us doing it, it creates a situation where it has more teeth to it. Because when it's a police officer that's coming and knocking on your door, typically, and I'm not trying to say you didn't do, but we've had several situations where Leanne could send a letter. She could go talk to somebody at a house and then not do one thing for her. She tells me, I take off down the road, whip in there and say something to them about it. 3 days later, it's done.
Right. I agree with
That quite
that.
a bit.
Yes.
It happens all the time.
It just makes sense.
Yeah.
And I think that with what we experience, the number one problem we get when we are trying to enforce the code is what's called deflection. And what deflection is where we go to this house and they may have a junk vehicle in their driveway. And we say, hey, you got to move this junk car. Not only is it a local ordinance, but it actually is a state law too.
Right.
Well, so-and-so down the street has their grass up to the knees, and so-and-so over there's got trash bags piled in front of their house. It starts deflection. I've even had it where, and I'm not saying anybody on this panel, but in previous times when I've had to get with city council members about it, I got deflection from city council members too. So the first thing is deflection. And I think when we're dealing with that, I think our police officers, we're trained to handle that type of deflection like that. So we're going to be able to inform people that, to talk through that with them, to get them to understand that, hey, that's so-and-so's house down here. How do you know we hadn't already talked to them? You need to worry about yours and not theirs because you pay your bills and they pay theirs.
And you can articulate that.
We can articulate that.
Yeah.
So, and one thing we're going to tackle right off the top is we're going to tackle all these houses that are just sitting there, like the one on 276 that's right across from Dell's Hamburgers, that a financial company won't close it for foreclosure. They left it open. And there hadn't many lived there in years.
On that subject, the release of lien was done in 2014.
For that house.
Yeah, I've got the copy of the lien.
Oh, that's all. Oh, you looked that up for me. You were talking about that.
Yeah, there's a release of lien from JP Morgan. I'll have to send it to you or look at it or whatever. I'm not sure. It does mention a dollar amount in there, but see, Chase and what was the other one? Credit One or Bank One?
It was Bank One.
They merged. And I don't know whether or not this release of lien releases the one that had it to the one that, to whoever took it over. I don't know which one, who took over who. So I don't know, but there was a release of lien back in July, I think July of 2014.
You couldn't release it if you didn't have it.
Well, what I mean is for instance, if Bank One bought JP Morgan,
Right.
then I'm not sure that this release of lien releases one bank to another with all the real estate holdings. I don't know if that's what it is, or is $44,000. So I don't know whether the property owners paid it off and they released it, or is it just on paper to release it from one bank to another because they merged or changed names or whatever you want to call it.
And then what you saw doesn't say who they released.
I haven't checked the status on it in a year. The last time I checked the status on it, it was pending foreclosure. And it was like that for a few years.
I remember that, yeah.
It was like that for a while. But that doesn't mean we can't, I don't want to use the word go after, because that's a bad word to use.
But that's good, and I appreciate you sharing kind of what y'all's thoughts are to move forward. Now, one of the things we're doing right now is we're going off of 2018 code, is that correct?
We're going off of the 2018 building code right now, and we have inspectors that are enforcing that are going off the 2020 building code.
Right, so that expense right there, and I don't know I know they were expensive, I don't know if we've gotten a total cost of what it's gonna cost us to get all those books.
We're still trying to find them.
Right, so
So we don't
there's a
know if
cost,
they've even been released yet.
so there's a cost there just to get us kind of up to what we're enforcing, right? So we're gonna have to get a bunch of literature, and that's gonna be a cost. We don't know what that cost is gonna be, but now that money, and that definitely could come out of there, right?
Oh, yeah.
So we're gonna have, what I'm seeing is, will we save anything? I would say at the end of the year, absolutely, we would have to, right? Because one thing, I think that this council is definitely gonna hold Brandon and his department kind of to the fire to do that. And I think Brandon would do that anyways. I really have faith in him. But at the end of the day, I think we need to take this year to do a restructure of our code enforcement. We've moved it into our police department. Let's restructure it. Let's figure out what we can do, how we can do it. Make sure we have all of our codes up to where they're supposed to be, all of our literature, all that stuff. And then hopefully by the end of this year, we'll be hitting the ground running with a really well working code enforcement. And if that code enforcement stays within our police department, then great. As far as within police officers, and we can figure out ways to supplement their pay to make them happy and love working here and doing what they're doing, then why would we not do that?
Yeah,
And still enforce what we need to.
right.
But that's what I was gonna say, that if we don't use that actual salary, we could use some of that money to actually, and not use the word go after, but pursue the habitual ones that know we can't financially do that.
Yeah.
And I think if they know we have that financial muscle behind us.
There's lots of ways that I think this could benefit us. But I think the key portions of this, what we need to make sure that we're hitting high points on is, first off, she's gonna have to come up with a really devised plan, right? And they're gonna have to stick to that, which that's gonna have to be a regiment. In order for it to work, there's gonna have to be a regiment there. I think he's got something really good going in his mind. It's not all on paper yet, but I feel confident. But then we're gonna have to have really good support within the city hall. And that's the thing we've gotta get on board is we've gotta figure out how to make sure that we've got support in the city hall, and that's gonna take some cross training or some educating on some of this code stuff. And it's not saying that we're gonna ask people to take the process from point A all the way to point Z, but at least, hey, kick the ball, right? Kick the ball, and then quarterback can, when he gets back in or whatever, he can grab it and he can throw it. And, let's just work as a team here.
Yeah.
That's the thing we've got to figure out.
But what drove this was the financial end of it, what initially sparked the,
Well, absolutely.
restructuring.
Absolutely, because at this point right now, we still got again, it's in the police department, so it's police department budget. So we still got cars that have to be sold to pay for down payment on the new truck coming in. There's computers, there's all kinds of things going on that I'm seeing over here that's line items, fairly big ticket items that if we don't sell the cars, then we've got this cloud hanging up here that we've got to pull out of somewhere. Right. And now we got computers that are taking dives on us that we've got some payment options, but at the end of the day, do we even have the money in the budget to make those payments? Probably not.
Right.
We didn't set aside any money to make payments on computers. We had no idea that was gonna happen, right?
Right. Well, that's what led into the conversation was if we, right now, we've currently got a job opening for a code enforcement / police officer.
Right.
And our thought was to eliminate, not to eliminate the position, but eliminate the hire in order to save upwards of somewhere around $50,000 to give us the finances to move forward with some of the other computers and things like that may come up this year. And then look at it again at the end of next year, after 90 days and see how it's going.
In my eyes, perfect storm. It works great. And when we get to the end of this year, we got the chief and another officer that's saying, hey, we like it, we'll do it, let's keep going the way we're going.
Okay.
So then, obviously, they both should know that if we set aside whatever the salary was, it doesn't really work that way. We're not gonna give both of them half the salary.
Right.
That would be nice, That would be really nice.
Yeah,
But here's what in my mind, that he hasn't heard me say yet, and this is kind of my little golden ticket that I was wanting to bring to the meeting, was what I would like to see happen is, this works great, the council's happy with it, the citizens are happy with it, the police department's happy with it, and we keep it running on the rails just like it is. And then guess what? We still have that money that we had in the budget from last year, that obviously we would probably not change a whole lot, except for maybe this creates us an option position,
yeah,
and it strengthens our force.
exactly, yeah.
Brandon, does that make a little bit more sense to you? Sure does. That we would strengthen our police force in doing this.
Do we have any other cities that are doing this that are happy with the way this is working for them?
East Milwaukee does,
They do,
Lone Oak does too.
they do, okay.
I love the idea of saving money. I mean, I love that. But I also know code has been an issue in this town for many years. It's been thrown around, moved around. I think it is very important to make sure there is a plan of attack on paperwork on how and what we're gonna do. What are the obstacles? What are we gonna go after? I think that is very important. We need a vision, and it needs to be where we can all see it and see it coming to life.
I can tell you right now, our greatest obstacle that I've seen in all the conversations I've had and all the talkings that I've had within the citizens, the greatest obstacles that I see right now, because I do have faith in our police department that I think they can do this. And just in her reaction of what she was showing a while ago with sending a police officer out there, the results she yielded, her reaction made me feel even better. The greatest obstacle we're gonna have is that front door. That's our greatest obstacle. Now, I don't mean to say that in a bad way, but the greatest obstacle we're gonna have is somebody coming through the front door and being able to walk away with something in their hand. Whether it be just, hey, I don't have the answer for you, but here's the chief's information, or here's some information, give me your information, and we call them back by the end of that day or by the next morning.
They all have work
Okay?
instructions here.
No, and I understand that, but what I'm saying is, I think that's our biggest obstacle. And I think if we can get past the side of the simple things, the hot water heaters, the fences, the culverts, the whatevers, the roofs, whatever we're doing, if we can get past those, and when the people come in, that it doesn't really matter who's here, they go, yep, here's what's here. All they have to have is a little bit of education, right? Here it is, this is what you gotta do, this is your cost, blah, blah, blah. Thank you, give me your money, go on the way. When the chief comes in, he's got a stack of papers over there in a box on his desk. Is that what you're envisioning?
It is. However, some of these permits that may be simple on that list is going to take us a couple of days to process. When we're dealing with a fence permit, we're going to have to go out there and make sure that it's within the setbacks. Because what we don't want to do is stroke a fence permit. We look up, we go out there, and then this guy's put a fence right there at the ditch line. They didn't do the 20-foot setback.
Well, that's where it is required. So, and
I don't know exactly, but we go out there, sometimes we have to go out there and put a physical eye on it to make sure we're doing it right.
Right.
Because just because they fill it out sometimes and they say, yeah, I'm gonna do that, and you go out there and it's not what they did. And then we end up in a situation like we did at a city council meeting where we have a guy that's having to go in with a concrete saw and cut the pad off because he didn't do the proper setback.
There's 25 foot on the.
Yeah, 25 foot. All right.
Now, in the code book, it doesn't say fence setbacks, it says building setback.
Yeah, it's building setback.
It doesn't, normally your fences are on the property line as long as it's not in an easement.
so that's gonna be really big, is putting those procedures down for whoever's at that front door. I mean, that's gotta be a top priority.
Yeah.
That's gotta be spelled out to them. You're good, okay, we gotta stop here. This has to be taken back to Brandon to get an answer for you. We'll get this answer for you within 24 hours or something.
And that's something we do need to come up with as a time frame.
If you go to the city of Greenville, you go to their permit department, you pick up an application for whatever permit you get, you don't get it that day. You pick it up and they have rules and instructions of, and it may take a week. I know it's taken my husband a week, up to 2 weeks sometimes to get a permit for a fence. And they don't just issue it right there.
Like on a vendor permit, when somebody comes and wants a vendor permit, I have to go over there and do a background on them to make sure that they meet the requirements. Because there's requirements on it for a vendor permit. But when we're dealing with new construction, I'm hoping Leanne's gonna be able to work with me on that. Because we got some items that are probably gonna be happening here in the city in the future, and I can't really say what they are. But if those do happen, that's gonna take up a good portion of time. We're gonna have to get James involved in that. But I think we're headed in the right direction. I'm planning on giving the council a presentation on what we're gonna do on the code enforcement part of it in our February meeting. I'm gonna do a PowerPoint presentation. What we wanna do when we do this, when you see this presentation, we wanna try to simplify this as much as we can for the police officer. So when me and Jordan are working it for these few months during the winter, because obviously when we get to the summer, we get what? We get busier. There's more daylight. So we're going to bring the other officers involved in it and split the city up into a 4-quadrant area where we're able to simplify and I don't want to use the word attack, but get more in compliance.
Canvas.
Yeah, exactly. So we want to simplify. We don't want to make it too, big as far as the process on what we're going to do. But I'll be doing a presentation for you at our meeting in February. How we're going to tackle this.
You need to rotate those officers in those quadrants too, every couple of months.
Oh boy, I don't know. If I got one officer that's got his speak span clean and he goes to another one, he may get mad.
You'd want him to go to all of them because he's doing his job.
Because in 2010, we did this in Quinlan. And you could tell what officer was out there doing their area and which officer wasn't.
Right. So
Because it got to where when we were doing it, we would go down there and say, hey, get that trash out of here. I don't want that trash in my area. Go put it somewhere else. Throw it away, take it to the city dump, whatever. We'll also be doing the city cleanups if we do any of them.
Take it to the other guy there.
Take it to the other guy there.
There's a pile of mattresses down there by my house.
There is, yeah.
Right next to
But that actually,
been there since I lived here 7 years.
oh, at that corner house right there?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's actually, he actually cleaned that up some. Because there was a big pile of trash out there. And it took us 2 or 3 weeks to get him.
They got it all compact now.
Yeah.
It's getting taller, but it's never been gone, ever.
So we touched on the coming in and getting the permits and everything for. What about the complaint side of it? How is that gonna be dealt with?
The complaint side of the what?
The code, somebody coming.
When I call and
Anything-
complain about that pile of trash,
Anything that has to do with, so what we're gonna have to do, the way our phone system is set up right now is all the code is coming to me, okay? From what I'm understanding, what the council wants is they want the permits over here on this side. Is that what I'm hearing?
well, you're not gonna be here to do them, so somebody here's gotta be able to walk in the door.
The permits are gonna, in my eyes, are gonna have to be within the office,
Okay.
within the city
If
hall.
you do it that way, then we have-
There are some permits that take a great deal of time to work out. Leanne and I had this conversation the other day. The fence and water heaters and all that. She's more than willing to work with and do those, but evidently some of them take hours and days,
Yeah.
to work through that. And that's where that would eat up her other two, responsibilities.
I'm gonna try to take as much off of it as I can for her. If I'm next door and somebody comes in for one of these permits that's gonna require us to get into the book,
Yeah,
I wanna be in her office when that happens, because eventually what I wanna do is I wanna take that part of it away from her too. As far as, now when it comes to the new construction stuff, she's gonna have to help me with that. But as far as when we get into other areas inside the book of, I'm starting to learn right now what our different zonings are and why our zonings are that way. Just like the other day, I had a guy that called me and said, hey, I want to put a travel trailer, an RV lot in this area. Well, you can't do that because that's agriculture. It can't go there. Oh, it can't? I said, no, sir, it can't. It's agriculture. You can request a variance if you want to. So I went over the whole process. I'm starting to learn that stuff on how that works.
okay.
I'm afraid this is gonna become a full-time job for you, and you're gonna be sitting in this office over here
I can
all
tell
day long, and not on the street where we need you.
I can tell you this, from seeing it, and I told Kevin this too, from seeing this, for 2 months since October from going in there and doing her office. I'm not gonna kid you, this is a full-time job. It is. And I'll tell you, as busy as the permits have been this past few months, you're gonna look up and your permit side's gonna end up being a full-time job like a lot of cities are.
It's gonna be that way quick. with the
Because-
growth coming.
Yes, when I was in my office, what day was that? Last 2 Mondays ago, when I was in my office, I didn't leave my office for 3 hours because I was dealing with permits. Nothing but permits on my voicemail. The code enforcement, I'm not worried about that. That's gonna be easy. We can get that done. That's just mind over matters with that.
Well, and again, that's why I'm saying, we need to divide and conquer on this permit situation. And guys, look, just because I mentioned a while ago, when we look at this in 90 days, right? That doesn't mean that if we look at this in 90 days and we say, okay, our code enforcement includes permits, includes all of that, right? It's the whole circle of things. If we look at it in 90 days and we say, okay, well, it looks like our code enforcement's going out, which is done by the police officers, it's going great. Our permits are stacking up, we're not getting anything done, we're backed up, we got customers we got people in the community griping. Well, why? What's the problem there? So then we gotta fix it. So we either fix it by saying, well, why are we not doing it? What I'm asking right now is for us to come together as a team, make this thing work, let's kick it off the ground. And if it all works good and we got all the whole circle working good, that doesn't mean that we're not gonna give a compensation here or compensation there, right? Again, like I said earlier, we're not gonna take this whole salary and split it up between Brandon and Jordan. I'm sure they wish we would, but that's not how it works in any business or industry. Okay? So if everybody will come together and work together, I feel like that us as a council will be fair to our people.
I'm all for trying it. I mean, like I said, do your 90 days. Let's
I mean,
see.
obviously, we have nothing else to do right now because we don't have anything in place. We don't have anybody knocking the door down to come in and be a code enforcement officer. So we need to get something going, right? And it's better for us to try to make this move during the winter months when people aren't building fences and doing all this crazy stuff. And if we've got our crap together by the time summer gets here, then we look at it in 90 days and say, okay, guys, team, you are doing a great job. You know what? Let us all talk about it and we're gonna compensate you this way, you this way, you this way, you this way. Thank y'all. Thank y'all for doing a great job. We appreciate it.
My suggestion is that you go a little longer than 90 days and you come back and look at it in 6 months. The reason why I'm saying that is because everything's dead right now. Nothing's growing, everything's dead. If we reach our 90-day point from this right here, we're gonna be sitting around March the 1st. That's when stuff's gonna start growing. People are gonna get out and start working in their yards. That's when our trash starts accumulating.
That's why we need to look at it at 90 to make sure we don't need to make some kind of big adjustment before.
Yeah, let's see what
gets done in 90 days.
Yeah, we need to look at it at 90 to say, hey, do we need to make an adjustment now? Because it's not working before we start getting busy, not wait until we're busy and find out we failed.
You can see a lot
No,
more,
but
you can see a lot more junk right now while there's no leaves on the tree.
And that's true. And I understand what you're saying. But I don't think 90 days is enough time for you to get a good grasp of what.
You're not gonna get a true story
No.
because you're not at your busiest.
I'm not saying we're gonna completely review it, but let's take a look at it and see what our progress is and make sure that we don't need to change some of our processes in 90 days.
Yes.
But let's go ahead and look at, and so that, you know, you're gonna be somewhat involved, obviously, so you can hear this. Hopefully it'll be good news to your ears and Brandon yours as well. So I think I would like to say during this workshop that I agree with you. The 6 months is probably a better time frame for us to say, okay, this is great. Now here we go. Everybody did a good job. Let's move forward. But here's the changes that are going to be made, and these are going to be the financial changes that are going to be made for your good works. Because I understand what you're saying. You don't feel like you're going to be able to yield a good enough result for anybody to be able to give you any kind of a fair shake. in 90 days. And I agree with you.
That's all I'm
And
saying.
I agree with you.
I agree with that. too.
I
We're not
agree.
gonna be able to just,
Six months,
Yeah.
6 months will give everybody
Yes.
in the office and everybody in the field the time to be able to get a fair shake. And then we could actually review and say, okay, we really appreciate y'all doing this. This is what we want to do. So I can agree with that.
yeah, but we just need that 90 days for everybody from the office to be able to step up and say, it's an issue here.
Right.
You know, here's what we think we need to do to change it, you know.
I want to make sure, and, you know, again, the council would have to approve it and all that, but I want to make sure that my feelings are that if we ask all this of our people, that at some point, we as a council are willing to sit down and go, okay, we really appreciate you, and this is what we want to do for you. Please keep doing the good work, let's keep growing our city together, and we want to do this as well for you. I think that's only fair.
Okay.
Hey, Brandon, just give me a little scenario. You pull up in front of a house that's got a code violation. How's that gonna work from start to finish?
Okay, so well, let me back a little bit for that. Right now, we're in the process of getting a code violation notification customized for our city. Okay? And I'm hoping that it's gonna be a triplicate copy and it's gonna have a little spot on the back that you peel off and it's got a sticky back to it. Okay? So if we're driving down the road and we see the code violation, me or Jordan's gonna pull over, okay? If they're at home, the first thing we're gonna do is make contact with them and talk to them about it. That's the first thing we're gonna do. Because you can get a lot done by just talking to people.
Yeah.
A lot done. But we're gonna go ahead and give them that notice, okay? If they're not there, the notice is gonna be hung on the wall, on the door. We're not gonna photograph anything yet, okay? They're gonna have a spreadsheet on their computer that they're gonna click on. They're gonna notate the code violation on their spreadsheet, the address. They'll have a selection box on what it is that they observed there, whether it's high grass, junk vehicle, trash and debris. And then when they fill this out, they're gonna put the address on it. Okay, we're gonna call up here to City Hall and find out who the owner is, if we don't personally know who they are. We're gonna put their name on it. We're gonna put the address on it. We're gonna check the boxes that apply. Okay, we'll have a section for comments. On the bottom of it, it's gonna it's gonna say that these violations need to be fixed within 10 days. The date of recheck is this. So you're gonna have a recheck date. And underneath that, it's gonna say exceptions are made for inclement weather. And it's either gonna be a door hanger, or it's gonna be affixed to the door. And then the officer's gonna take the carbon copy, he's gonna notate it on his daily, he's gonna turn the carbon copy in, or he's gonna keep the carbon copy until he does the recheck.
So it sounds like a computer program, what you're
Oh,
describing.
I've looked into a computer program that's from a company called Tyler Incorporated, that they have a whole entire computer program that's set up just for actual code.
You started looking at that and getting pricing and.
I've even looked at one of them for our water department to be able to get their work orders sent to them in their vehicle by computer. So that software's out there, but that's how simplified this is going to be. When they go to the recheck, if they're working on it and we can tell they're working on it, we're going to go back and talk to them. If they're working on it, we may allow them some more days to get it finished, because the goal is to get it cleaned up. That's the goal. If they're still working on it, we're going to give them some more time. If they're not working on it and they haven't done nothing, and we haven't had any inclement weather at all, then they're probably going to get a summons to appear on it. And then when they come to court, then the judge is going to set them another days to fix it. At that point, when we do go back, we do the recheck. If it's not completed, then we're going to photograph it. Now we're going to have to put a file together. What I don't want to do is I don't want these police officers sitting in here, sending out a 10-day letter, taking photographs, moving it over in this, printing the photographs off, putting this file together, spending 30 minutes to put a file together, and you go back out there in 7 days and it's cleaned up and it's fixed. That officer just wasted 30 minutes or an hour sitting there doing that.
Brandon, have you talked to Judge Barnett?
Not yet.
Okay, because I can tell you how Judge Barnett likes it. He wants you, when you go out and make notification of the infraction, once you observe it, if you give them a notice, he wants a picture of what you saw that day, because that is your case file. He wants a
Okay, we
picture
can,
of what what you saw that day.
Then I could get another camera and we can do that.
Then if you go, like,
I'll talk to Judge
you
Barnett.
give them 10 days, then at the end of that 10 days, or within 10 to 15 days, whatever your time frame is,
Right.
you go back and they have, you know, you want to take a picture of that day. And the reason is because once you come to court with it, what Judge Barnett is going to want to see is, well, we went on this day and this is what it looked like when we talked to them. We came back, they had made some improvement, but they're nowhere near compliance. All the way up to court day, we would even go out on
Yeah,
court day
yeah.
and take a photograph of how it looked on that day. And that's why I suggest you get with Judge Barnett, because he knows exactly how he likes it.
If we do have one of these that they're just refusing, they're not gonna do anything, we gotta do a case file, we gotta do everything on it. We have to go back out there to, and is it an hour in before court? Up to an hour? It's up to an hour before court starts to see if they did anything to it. Before they come back, before they appear in front of the judge. On average, if we have a bulk amount of code enforcement cases, normally they'll have a special court on one session. But typically what we try to do is we try to put anywhere from 3 to 5 on the docket if we have them for the judge just to talk about with them while they're, while we got regular court going on that day. So,
Oh, go ahead.
Can you not email those reports to someone at City Hall and let them send the letters?
we could, but the
Or we
deal with
don't
the
have a
letters
police
are,
officer sitting there sending out the letters?
the deal with the letters are, is I don't even think they're getting opened. I think they're just getting thrown away. Because if you look at the
I don't think
response
so,
we
they're
get off,
bribing a lot.
Huh?
I think they're getting the letters.
well, but see, if you look at the response that we get off of letters, we're not getting any compliance with it. So we gotta change what we're doing.
Well, does the letter they get now, what does it say on it? City of West Tawakoni?
It says City of West Walkeny.
Okay, well, your letter needs to have a badge symbol on it.
Our letter
Police
is,
Department of West Tawakoni, code enforcement, and signed by the chief, Brandon.
we're hoping we can get a lot of it cleaned up by just talking to people. Just getting out and talking to them.
Right, because what you want isn't necessarily money from citations. What you want is
You
compliance.
want compliance.
Yeah, we want it cleaned up.
What city looking better?
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
so at this point,
That's the goal.
you're gonna give us a presentation in the February meeting.
Give you a presentation for everywhere. I can tell you this, and I'm not saying our citizens don't like police because they love police, but when a police officer pulls up on somebody's property, they want to get them out of there as fast as they can.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
They do. I mean, that's normal. I mean, that's fine.
We've
So
been
if
at this
you
one.
got a police officer coming all the
Yeah, we gotta
time,
move on.
then, they're gonna, we're gonna
Yeah, I
get
can't hear, because y'all can't hear me in
We're
there.
close to an hour just on this one subject. Need to move forward.
I can hear, but nobody can hear me.
Great dialogue, no doubt. But,
It's
got
asked
a lot of
several
things to
times,
cover
we're gonna do it, so we just-
Was there any other question? Huh?
When we move on, we're agreeing that in 90 days, we're
I
gonna
can
be
fix
looking at
that.
this. I can fix that.
And that'll be, I think in March, but
Well, it'd be March,
December,
you're gonna,
January, February, so March meeting,
yeah, our March meeting.
yeah.
Basically report them in now. so.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Item, 5B, discuss updated water sewer current vehicles and lease vehicles. James, have you got something you wanna add to that?
Well, on the lease vehicles, I've done with brief, we've got 8 vehicles right now in our fleet. And one of them's down, and the other 7 operating pretty decent. They work good, they operate good. I don't see no need in getting any new vehicles. I think the money needs to be spent towards the lift stations. I've got 20 lift stations here, and 6 of them are in really good shape. The other 14, you've got corrosive control panels, you got where people's been robbing a pump, taking it to another location. They might have robbed a motor, took it to a different location, never took the motor to have it repaired. I don't know who's done it, but it's been done. And when you take one away, you're out of compliance. And I really feel that we need to to the lift stations instead of the vehicles. That's,
What kind of money are we talking about, would you say, to get these lift stations to compliance?
I would say with the last quote I got, it was $9,000 to have, Sandy Lynn done,
Just
Just
one?
one,
just one.
that's 2 months payment, I think.
I don't recall.
Brandon, what was the Public Works Department payments? Do you remember the payment breakdowns? 4,000 something, I think, off the top of my head.
I believe.
There's 4,000, so that's 2 months payments of the vehicles. But right now, what you're looking at is, you're basically looking at, hang on a second.
Rhonda, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay.
I mean, we've got one vehicle that's not functioning right now. I mean, the other ones, I mean, yeah, they got minor problems to them. One might not have an air conditioner that works, but, I mean, with the small preventive maintenance and upkeep, I think that we can keep rolling with these trucks. I mean, we need to put,
How much trucks did y'all budget for?
Two.
Two new
Three.
trucks.
Three.
Three.
Oh, no, you're right, it was three. It was
Three out of Public Works and one out of Police Department.
Okay.
Right. It is a package deal. We can't get yours without at least one of those.
If you don't purchase your Public Works vehicles, then we need to look at other financial options for our pickup truck for the police department.
Yeah, but now we only have to do one and one.
Yeah, I think we
We
can do
don't
one
have to
public
do
works,
three.
one police.
You
You did say that.
You
I
do
think you
take,
did say that. I think you did say that.
Well, I'm interested in what that would say, you know, what kind of money savings are we talking about? And is it enough to have an impact on your department?
Well, you're looking at, I just did it 4,200, because I can't remember exact, but I think it was 4,041 something, I can't remember, I don't have that budget with me, I should have brought it. Because that was on this. At 4,200, you're looking at a little over 50,000 for the year in payments, $50,400. Now, the thing is, you gotta remember, and Nick can back me up on this, is all that money's not there in one big lump sum. It's, the way we budget this is as money's coming in, coming in.
The only thing that was left out was the upkeep.
Right, and what I'm trying to say is we wouldn't have that, if we decided not to get the trucks, it wouldn't be like it would turn around tomorrow and have a $50,000 bag of money.
Right.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Well, that'll come in February.
Right, and it wouldn't be here, right, it wouldn't be here till our taxes come in.
Taxes are, rolling in, they're doing better.
Oh, they already do it?
Yeah.
But,
But-
they normally slow down right around the end of the year. And then as the delinquencies start coming in, then they start paying again.
So, I mean, I'm okay with exploring that. We can look at it, I guess. We may have to put that on one of our upcoming agendas, but, I would employ you, James, to probably talk to Brandon and see if you could reach out to the guy with Enterprise
okay,
and see what that does to us as far as the agreement. I think, just like Chris said, I think we would have to, in order to get the police vehicle that we've already committed to, I think we probably have to do one public works truck. And I mean, I don't wanna discredit what you're saying that the city needs, because I know you know better than what we know the city needs. But then I too wanna look from the outside looking in. And I do know about buying equipment for company vehicles, basically that's what we're doing. And when you have a fleet, you have to start replacing it at some point, because if you don't, at one point, it's all gonna hit you at once.
Yeah.
So I would say that the least thing we wanna do is look at least getting the one. We need to find out what that does, how does that change the dynamic of payments, whatever. But we would wanna at least get the one for public works, along with the police vehicle. And then we're gonna have to turn around next year and probably do the same thing,
yeah.
okay?
I think it's commendable that he was not enticed. This is a discussion that we had Friday, Wednesday it was.
And like these lift stations, I don't think they've got time to wait. I mean, they're bad.
Right, but the thing is, they're gonna, I mean, we're kind of at liberty of when money gets here.
Yes, sir. I
You know, we
agree.
just don't have it sitting here.
I
But
understand.
what he's saying is though, is, you know, he could be riding around in a brand new truck and he's willing to give that up to get these stations.
Yeah, that's commendable.
He needs them fixed.
And I agree, and I commend him for that too, and that's what I'm saying. But here's the thing, I know from dealing with fleet vehicles, you've done it yourself, is you cannot just keep running old vehicles just like you do at home, right? Just because a vehicle's running good today, doesn't mean tomorrow it's gonna keep running good. And we've already experienced that with our city vehicles already. So the thing I wanna make sure we take our mindset away from, and I'm, like, I said, I'm not discrediting what James is saying, and I think what he's saying makes a whole lot of sense, right? But I don't want to just say, let's not do any, because I promise you, you at least need one truck. Just by looking at your truck. Now, there's a whole nother truck subject we could get on, we're not gonna get on tonight. We'll save that one for another day. But I think we need to look at the dynamics, because we've already made some agreements, and the police department is in for sure desperate need of another police vehicle. But I think we'll have to do the one. Now, if we can look at different options for financing for the one police vehicle and not get any of them, then that would be for the council to decide. But as far as what I'm thinking, what my input would be, I would disagree to do that. I would at least replace one truck.
James, what's your worst case scenario on these lift stations?
Well, one of them goes down and sewer starts overflowing the manholes, and I mean, if you got one that goes down, that's what happens. It'll start backing up.
Right.
Next thing you know, it's a health and safety issue.
So that's where we're gonna have to come up with $9,000 immediately,
Just like that,
tomorrow.
right now.
So if we spend some money on all of them right now to get them in better shape,
That's correct.
the worst ones first,
That's correct.
Do we have?
then we may
any
not
that are
have that
funded for it,
disaster.
or that are
Yes.
close?
$9,000.
Well, I can
I
tell,
mean, I've got 14 on the list right here.
Wow.
It's gonna
But
be
we've
like
got
that
20
Florida
lift stations.
place over there, $25,000.
There's
well,
14 of them here that are severe.
Close.
yeah,
I mean, they're bad.
I can tell all y'all my fear right now, every time I see it, and I think I hear it before I see it, is that Ford truck that we have, which is basically our only tow truck, the only one that we have that'll tow our trailers, the Ford diesel. You hear that truck before you see it, because it's programmed and the exhaust has been deleted. And the reason why you hear it is because it's being driven like it's, somebody has a truck that they deleted, because I've had them, and you drive them hard, because they're basically a hot rod diesel truck. That truck, and we can all put this on record, that truck will cost us a lot of money, and probably the near future, because those aren't real reliable trucks to start with. Now, you have to delete them for them to be somewhat reliable, but when they get driven hard, and they get driven hard pulling an excavator behind them, things are gonna happen. So that truck's gonna take a dump on us, and we're gonna be sitting there holding a $10,000 or $15,000 repair bag. So think about that. Now, the trucks that we've looked at ordering, they're not to replace that truck to tow with. But I'm telling y'all that we've got to start changing our mindset, and we can't say everything that we're driving today runs great, because that truck right there, mark my words, it's gonna cost us a bunch of money. That truck scares me.
Let me ask you this.
It was a bad purchase.
Would you rather have a brand new truck with a city worker driving in front of your house, or a big pile of poop coming down your street?
No, I don't want either one. I don't want the crappy, craps piled down my street, but I also don't want my truck sitting on the side of the road being towed to a shop costing me more than what the truck's worth.
So how can we do both?
The only way you're gonna do both is to replace one truck at a time, replace one this year.
What about these lift stations?
Well, you're talking about one truck versus three, so you're gonna take two of them out of the equation.
I'd like to see what that dollar amount.
We have to look at what the dollar amount is, right?
Yeah,
So why don't I just look at this two ways, okay?
yeah.
I'll call back to Enterprise and I'll get a quote with our truck in one V6 long bed with the utility boxes in it. Okay, like we ordered, it's one of them, okay? And then I'll get with you, Jim, and Arnett. I don't know how we do this, but why don't we go visit American National, where we financed our 2014 Tahoe, and sit down with them and figure out a different finance option. If the council decides, no, let's not purchase any of the water trucks, let's only do the police truck, you know, which we've already decided to do that because we've already voted in the budget, but we can go back and look at it two different ways, come back with two different options.
I agree with that. That's a good.
I'm good with that because we've got to figure out how to do it.
We've
Yeah,
got
Do
to
we have
fix a
any
lift
vehicles
station.
that we could sell to offset some of this?
yeah, but it's-
Well,
well,
the stuff we have to sell right now, I believe that we'll probably be able to suffice that down payment if we decide to get a pickup truck and a lease vehicle or a police truck and a water truck. We should have enough, and there's probably gonna be some stuff left over if y'all come back and amend the budget and be able to put the rest of that money towards a lift station or something. I think there's gonna be some money left over there. Because we're looking at 2 vehicles with 2 trailers, and I have some other police equipment on there. We're gonna try to get this loaded up and ready to go by the end of the week. Because we got everything back now. We got our title to our dump trailer that we're never gonna use again. So, you know, we'll be able to get that loaded up there. I have a camera now I'm gonna be able to take the pictures with. Jordan will set up the site, and we'll get it ready to go live with Renee Bates. We'll set reserves on them.
So we can plan to see that within a week.
We'll have everything ready to load up on Renee Bates, but Renee Bates is gonna schedule when they want that portion of the auction to go live. That could be after the new year, it could be later on in December. I don't know what their timeframe is.
That's my question, is like the dump trailer that's gonna go to Renee Bates, and that's the only thing we have to move rock. We don't have no dump truck. I mean, all the rock stays at the sewer plant. You might have a road that's bad over here.
Yeah.
How are you getting that rock from the sewer plant over here?
What, do you wanna keep the dump trailer?
We
I'd
got
like to,
to,
yeah.
Okay, we'll keep the dump
is
trailer.
there repairs that need to be made to it?
Yeah.
It's fully functional.
Mhm.
Okay.
It's got a dump, it's a dump.
that's what we thought it was replace the dump truck.
That's all that we've heard.
That takes all wouldn't let us put on the road.
6 months is that it was broke down.
But it
Yeah,
don't,
that's what
but
I-
it don't work for nothing. How much rock can you put in it? Not even a load,
Well, you can put a couple loads.
a couple of,
I've done put 3 loads myself, in
a couple bucket loads,
backhoe buckets.
right, backhoe buckets. But
Yes, can you fill it up? No,
Yeah.
Without it, what do we have?
you have nothing.
Brand new truck, you can put it in the back of the road.
well, if you're not gonna buy the trucks and you're gonna sell the equipment, then buy you a freaking dump truck.
I agree with that.
Get rid of that dump trailer because number one, it ain't nothing to stress on that
Yeah.
truck.
Yes, Rhonda,
Where are we with the USDA and are we grant eligible? Because the USDA can help us with grant funding for vehicles.
I don't know, I was under the understanding we could, with the last, grant that we've got, that we can't get another grant for 4 years, but that, maybe that's just specifically roads or whatever. Somebody has told me somewhere along the way, if we would have waited a little bit longer to do the grant for private code, we could have got a lot more money out of that.
I've heard that as well.
So that's a good question, Rhonda.
Don't we have somebody that we use that can look into that for us that does our grants?
We have to contact, the lady in town and, say, you know, at certain points, you know, you are eligible, but I think it's a timing thing as well. And it may depend on the type of grant she's talking about there.
does that lady just charge by the hour to research things like that or what?
One of
Well,
them,
they have one that, like a partial pay grant where the city could pay, you know, a portion, but the brunt of it is through the USDA. That's why I asked what was our standing. And I was not aware whether or not they had pulled any grant funding from us, or are we still eligible?
we've never
Let me
tried
see if I can get some information on what that grant is called, and at least we'll have a start.
Good idea.
That'd be a good idea.
What were you saying to that?
I said that we've never you know, all of our grants have been roads or, well, this last one, that was the first one that we did on roads, but then most of them been water and sewer.
Okay.
We can also check the federal surplus too, and see what they have available.
Who's gonna head that up? Who's gonna ramrod that?
I don't know anything about USDA grant.
I just have to call one and
Okay.
see what the other thing.
Okay. I just wanna make sure that
And
it
then
is.
I'll try to get the information for you, tomorrow, because, the city of Paco got two vehicle grants for two different police vehicles, one in 07 and one in 09. We also got a tractor, we also got a police four-wheeler, and that was all on USDA grant.
Okay. I just wanna make sure somebody's following up on it and just, leave our minds and paper after the meeting and just fall silent.
The other thing we can sell is those 4 travel trailers down there at the park.
No titles, no
It
nothing.
doesn't matter, those hunters could buy them things and drag them to West Texas.
Like
Do what?
EDC.
EDC Buffalo, not the city,
EDC Buffalo.
Oh.
When was this?
years ago.
I've heard two different stories.
I'm not,
So maybe that's a
I've
question we
never
have for
heard that
EDC.
me
but
either.
Now,
Yeah, that's getting off topic.
just to make sure, James, I wanna make sure that the rumors that I've heard and Chris that he even heard, although y'all do use that trailer because it's the only thing you have,
Yes.
but everything I've been told, I think, I seen it down here one day with a whole wheel or axle busted off of it or something, because we're overloading it, basically, is what was happening in the past. Now, this was before you came. But apparently it's not very effective,
Okay.
right, is what I'm told, and
It's a
especially,
roofing trailer.
well, especially when you get on some of these roads that are dead end roads, it's not real effective, makes it a pain in the butt for y'all to get down there and dump. So my thoughts would be that we still keep it moving forward, and if we don't buy the trucks, then great, we take the money that we sell the dump trailer and we sell the flatbed trailer as well, right? The long 75 million foot flatbed trailer we have that we've never used. We take the money from them trailers and we buy us a dump truck through wherever, right? Renee Bates or the government surplus, whatever, buy us a dump truck that we could use. Because a dump truck would definitely be usable, right, I would think.
Definitely.
And, you know, if we buy a dump truck, we might end up buying a dump truck that has the right kind of hitch on it. That, what other trailers do we have that pulls? We got a smaller trailer that we pull the excavator on, right? So if we buy a dump truck, and you maybe pull an excavator behind the dump truck as well. That way, in case you have an issue with the other truck, now you're bailed out.
We've got the one ton hooked up to the excavator, the mini X now. We're using the one ton to do that.
No, I know that, but like I told you, that truck scares me.
Yeah.
When I see that truck take off out of the city park and I hear it before I see it, and it's screaming with a 12,000 pound machine behind it, that transmission or one of the head gaskets are gonna say before long. Only reason why I know that is because I used to do hot rod diesels, and that's what I did to mine. I'd spit a head gasket out or blow a transmission out.
So let's sell it while it's still running.
Yeah. So anyway, y'all are gonna find out what we can do on the truck. We'll figure out if we're gonna buy one truck, buy no trucks and one police vehicle and fix the lift stations, right?
And yes, and then the USDA thing is Rhonda's gonna check it out. Okay. Are we finished? Any more questions or concerns on, 5B? All right, let's move on then to 5C, discuss need for B water plant operator. James?
Yeah, I mean, we definitely need one. I mean, we've got 3 contracted right now.
So we're using 3 contractors to do.
So we got Cash,
We've got Cash,
2 guys from Cash,
and then
right?
we got, yes, sir,
And then we've got more.
we got Mark Arnold.
Well, let's have the guys from Cash. Do we need Mark still?
Yeah, we need Mark. I think so. I mean, he's doing, the guys from Cash, they're not doing the MOR. Mark is doing the MOR, monthly report.
But only reason why I'm asking is, are they willing?
Probably not.
Have we asked?
And
I mean,
money for what?
Willing to do the MOR, do the
No.
monthly report. I mean, that's what I'm saying is,
Yeah.
if I were paying him for it to do the monthly report, I mean, I don't know if we've asked, but if the guys from Cash would be willing, then we're not paying 3 people, we're paying 2.
When they come on, they talk like they wanted this to only be temporary.
Mhm.
They don't want to.
Well,
really-
and I know that, but I'm saying temporary as well. I think tonight our conversation needs to be going towards what are we doing to find our own D operator? So we don't have Mark, we don't have Cash at all.
Well, James
Yeah,
has reached
I agree.
out
I've reached
to,
out just about anybody and everybody I know. I went to the TCEQ website, the query, sent people messages. I mean, the operators you do get a hold of, they're pretty content with where they're at.
Yeah.
I mean, I reached out to just about everybody I know.
So the answer is.
Is there anybody else that you know of that we haven't asked or we haven't brought to council? I mean,
Not a B operator, but there is a C.
C operator?
Mhm.
What does a C operator do for us? Just let Mark do the monthly reports and then we have somebody to run the
And
plant.
have
all day?
somebody to operate the plant, because that's what's required by the state, having somebody there at the facility.
Would that person be able to get a B?
I'm sure he would.
Well, maybe that's somebody you need to talk about. I don't know. Is it somebody that you know?
He was a previous employee here,
Okay.
Michael
This the only
Stelton.
C license we got. I mean, there's nobody else with a C license that's currently on board now.
No, sir.
Well, we still have the option of using a company,
Well, that's what we're doing
That's
now.
what we're talking about.
right? There's a company, have you ever heard of Serving and Trent?
What's that?
Probably couldn't afford
Serving
it.
and Trent.
No, I heard you, I'm sorry. James,
Yeah, that's big bucks.
Big bucks to use them.
Well, that depends on what we want to use them for.
We've got to have somebody up here 8 hours a day.
We're gonna have to have somebody operating our plant all day long. That's,
8 hours.
we're
a
not,
day.
we're not even meeting the state requirements right now. We should have a C operator on an 8-hour basis every day, and then we have to have a B in order to carry all of our contracts and all the
Right,
reporting.
I'm just saying, it's really simple to call them up. In fact, I have a phone number that, call the guy up and ask him if we get their proposal and tell them exactly what we want and see if they're able to service our needs.
You have that phone number available right now? All right.
Yes,
Okay, go ahead.
hang on, I'm searching for it. I can't remember what it is.
James, will you call this guy tomorrow?
Mhm. Now, there was an outfit out here from Terrell. I'm trying to think who their name was. Somebody had sent them up there. Anybody know? They were looking at the facility, and they had actually bought out Severn Trent.
What'd you say?
I think I checked with Annette too. I believe that I had given that number to Annette here just before we took this on with Cash.
She's shaking her head in a,
Rhonda, I don't have a number on them.
Oh, you don't?
No.
Okay, so let me keep searching my phone then, 'cause I'll talk
Okay.
to him. I'll find it for you before we leave.
well, I mean, and Rhonda, I appreciate you giving us that information. Hopefully we can call them and find out. One thing concerns me is I do know with most contracted services like that, usually they are an as-need basis, not a 8-hour-a-day basis. And most of those people range from anywhere from 50 to up to $100 an hour from everything that I've checked. Cause I did, when we first got into this predicament, I spent some of my own time and called around and I was speaking to James on a daily basis and him and I were trying to figure out some kind of a plan, and unfortunately we've gotten nowhere with it. And I pretty much told him, I said, well, now it's back in your hands, buddy. I've helped you as much as I can, and he's been doing a great job.
Yeah, we over in the city that I work for used, service for a while. It was, Texas Rain was one of them. I would not suggest doing that particular one, but there are others that are, like we did that, and then the contract was good. If we found something wrong or some discrepancy, we could stop it at any time.
Well, now, but what you were dealing with there was sewer. It's,
Right.
some of the same, but a little bit different.
They handle water and sewer. We just didn't have both in our city, but
Right.
they definitely handle both. And Urban and Trent has a really, really good reputation for that, but.
Well, I just,
Gotta find that number.
I think with the size of our system and what's required, we're not gonna get, well, we have to have somebody here 8 hours a day. And,
Right,
and
yeah, I
if,
understand that, because I'm the one that reached out to them, on behalf of the city of West Tawakoni, but then they picked, cash, so everything just kind of stopped right there.
That's who sold it. They did come out.
Saying the number, in fact, the guy called me after that and asked me if we were still interested, and I said, well, it's not my decision, it has to go through the administration, but they picked cash for now, but he told me to keep the number, you know?
well, I know cash from everybody else's quote per hour, cash is doing it a whole lot cheaper than anybody else would even touch it.
Oh, yeah, I think so, but then we also have to remember the cash's intention is a temporary basis to help us out.
Yeah, but again, they're not here 8 hours a day.
Right, and the whole subject, getting back to the subject, that is the need for a type B water plant operator is not, we already know that we can contract that out and be, within DCEQ's guidelines. I think that conversation's already been had with DCEQ.
Yeah.
My issue, and I think what's on there is with regards to acquiring Class B. I know we've got, how many people do we have currently that is type C that is ready to take their test for type B?
That I know of,
Yeah.
that is willing to come to work.
No, it's already at work. Is there anybody with a C license that's eligible for B?
No,
What about you?
I'm still waiting on the class.
Okay, but, so you got a
But I
C
can-
license.
I can test for a C.
Now you can,
He don't have a C
When-
water.
When the class shows up, I can test for a C
Right.
water.
when do you think that might happen?
I've been calling daily, looking at the website daily. They keep telling me due to the corona, everything's went online. There's just a backup and wait. All I do is sit and wait.
Can't test online now.
But that sea water gets us a little bit better off.
It would.
Now, here's the problem, and you step in and correct me anytime I'm wrong. Just in the conversation I've had, I've walked the plant with this gentleman. The problem is he can test for that seed as soon as they put it out there for him to test it.
Right.
He feels confident he'll pass it. But that doesn't mean that he's gonna sit here and tell us as the city council, okay, I got my C, now I'm your C operator, because he's done told me, and again, correct me if I say something incorrect, because you may have picked up more knowledge between the last time we talked about this.
No, if you're still correct.
Is I can have my C and I can be holding that license, but that doesn't mean that I'm your good water plant operator, or walk in your plant and make you good water.
Yeah, I'm probably not your guy. I mean, if we want to talk about wastewater, I'm your guy. But as far as the water plant goes, I mean, I could probably go in there and pass the B, but I wouldn't know how to operate that plant.
Well, maybe this is a discussion we need to continue, between 2 or 3 of us,
Well, we
James included.
really need to look at figuring out what we're gonna do to get an operator.
What are our options out here? Do we, you were mentioning somebody that, had a C license. I don't know where you were going with that.
Yeah, he was a previous employee here with the city.
That's something we would need to identify that person and have a discussion. Maybe it's something to the effect that, we bring them on a temporary basis or a contract basis that may be as cheaper than cash, and having them take their B license, moving on. and maybe down the road, if they prove it themselves, I don't know what you're talking about, but, then we reconsider bringing them on full-time or just, getting out of the contract business.
Ronnie, you still there?
I'm still here.
Okay, making sure.
What do y'all think about, I mean, I know of a couple of people that don't have to be licensed, but I understand they're ready to take to be licensed. Or would class or whatever.
I think we have.
That's something we need to talk about in another, get together.
Okay.
Just, you know, with Annette and James, and maybe one or two of us, maybe you and I, Kevin.
Okay.
And we can look at that, because this is something that I don't think we're gonna resolve tonight.
Right, no, we're not,
But it's something that's of great importance, and it's a priority that we do this.
well, we'll also get that number from Rhonda at some point, and we can explore that option.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
sorry, I'm actually still searching for that.
That's fine, that's okay.
In the condition of the water plant, it's in great need. I mean, there's no automation, no more.
Do we have any other discussion on, 5C? Or can we move on? Anybody have any questions, comments, concerns?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
On the, saying that we have to have an operator that's present all the time, is that because there's an agreed order still out from TCEQ? Or is that just a standard?
That's just standard.
That's just the standard requirement.
The standard compliance for the size of our city and our water, usage.
Okay, but it's not because we're under any type of agreed order?
No, ma'am.
or,
No,
any
ma'am.
infractions or anything?
No.
TCEQ is absolutely 100% aware of what we got going on.
Okay. Yeah, that part I'm not, I'm just talking about, from the standpoint of somebody having to be there all the time.
No,
All
it's,
the time, if we have been, had any compliance issues, then they may force that as part of an agreed order.
Well, there is an agreement, or not necessarily agreement, but an understanding, I guess. They know, where we stand and,
No, I don't mean that, Mayor. I mean, for an infraction or an agreed order, which basically is something that they would mandate us to do if we had been in trouble or out of compliance.
no, we're not.
We're not in trouble.
Any others on, C? Let's move on to D, city Facebook reinstatement and personal responsible.
Thank you,
If
ma'am.
it's all, if it's the same to all you guys, can we marry, 5D and 5E? Or do you want to do this differently?
I'm good with that.
Okay,
Y'all take care. Thank you.
Thank you very
So
much.
we
Be
want-
safe.
Is that what I said?
That's fine, Brian.
Okay. Let's get back, because they really are kind of the same. This has been something that's been going along for a long time. And that's the need for, some outlet for citizens to get information from. I had a discussion with Annette last week, because I had the idea of, like our, boil notices. Many times if there's a water break and we're required by TCEQ to send out boil notices, and it happens on a Monday, those letters don't get to the citizens till Wednesday or Thursday. You know, so there's no quick, we still have to do that. I think by law, we have to send that notice out via mail, is that correct?
It depends on the circumstance.
Okay,
Something else that is out there, which is our iris.
yeah, that's what I was talking about.
Now, which a notice went out recently for the weather. Several of you probably, I get that because I've asked to be on it, even though, it needs walking, but, our emergency management, was Alan. And he contacted me that night and he said, you know, none of us here had ever done it. I believe him and Susan had done it prior. He give Leanne the information to send it out, but he's still over our emergency management, you know, the way that was set up years ago. So, but that goes out, you know, with a phone call. But y'all, we only have about 200 of our customers that have. signed
That's
up
what I
for
was
that.
just thinking to bring up from our conversation the other
That's
day.
something that occasionally I need to get Cody to put out on the water bills more often. Hey, sign up for this, you know, you'll get notifications from the city, especially emergencies.
Well, my thought, going back to our conversation, was not just the weather, but using it as full notices to get it out immediately, but it's just not. When she said there's only 200 people or 200 households set
That's
up,
not sufficient for
no,
notification.
it's not, and we're paying, I think the figure I recall is about $1,800 a year for 200 people to get an iris one.
That we need to reach out. We don't really need to lose that. That's
No.
you know, that we need to push out there more. But yeah.
And as far as the Facebook, and or website, are we going a different route on our website? We've got, I think, the proposed budget, that's all I have at this point, was, for a website administrator, we've got budgeted $5,000. You know, I would think, unless we can find somebody to volunteer their time to revamp it, I think it's probably gonna cost more than that to get, like Quinlan. If anybody's been on Quinlan's website, I mean, they've got everything on there.
I think we pay Tony $350 a month, and that's where it comes up, you know, to the 5,000 per year.
Yeah,
And that's
okay.
for postings.
Yeah, you're right, yeah, and
It's
we,
not really the website, it's just, you know, doing the posting.
oh, okay. So that's something else, we need to find out some way, whether it be Facebook, the website, or other means, to get the information out to the citizens that's currently not getting it now.
Do you have a website? Who created yours?
Me.
So I thought. Brandon,
It's just a Wix website.
Oh, what?
A Wix. Website. Websites, you go out and hire a company to make your website and pay them one time.
Yeah,
And that can be expensive depending on what you want on there.
right.
But then as far as your maintenance, if we're paying $350, we're paying way too much.
Yeah.
We're paying way too much because that's all they're
What's your
doing is
website?
posting what we're telling them to post.
Website, what?
fireworks
We're
stand.
still doing all the work.
Okay, so I asked you, Brandon, you have a website for your fireworks stand, right?
Yes,
Okay, who created yours?
I did.
Through
GoDaddy.
GoDaddy, that's what I thought. If I remember correctly, we had a meeting in this council chamber. And we had a councilwoman sitting over there that she spoke that she had hers was through GoDaddy. So I think that we're probably looking at this a little bit wrong, okay? The one thing that I have an issue with is, from what I understand, and that, please correct me if I'm wrong, is for us to make changes, add anything, take anything, whatever, on or off our website, it's gotta go through terms. That is ludicrous.
That's what we're doing now.
That is ludicrous.
Well, the reason for that is because you have one person going in there making them changes and keeping up with it.
And that's, I get it, that's kind of maybe how it should be, one or two, right? You don't want everybody's cookies in the cookie jar.
Yeah.
But again, you know, it's not like we're trying to, how much do we have going on? How much is gonna change, right? And would it make life easier if we had that, rather than, how else are y'all having to do some of these things? Right? I mean, a public notice is a public notice. If it's on a website, then that's a public notice in a lot of cases. Right?
Right.
There's nothing to say that it has to be a certain way. It can be a mailer, it can be whatever, but if it's on a website, you can call that, that's your public notice. Where
Do
there's
we know how many hits we get on our website every week?
I can find out tomorrow.
Huh?
I can find out tomorrow.
The website could be used so much better to stop all the citizens from calling up here and complaining.
Well, this is the problem we've had in the past, is that when we're gonna release information, if we put it on the city website, then we get contradictory because we didn't put it on Facebook. If we don't put it on Facebook, then we get comments and we put it on the city website.
Well, here's what I'd like to
Just have
see.
one.
Here's what I'd like to see is we take this Facebook line D, we draw a line through it, and we just get rid of it. It goes away. And we look at our look at our city website, and we get out of 19, whatever we're in, and we get into the 2020, fixing to be 2021, and we get a website that department heads, whether it be a police department head, whether it be a net, where we give a couple, 2 or 3 people in our city hall that we would call department heads that we trust in to add or take stuff on and off our website, and we get a website going, and our city actually has some actually views from the community.
I have a comment.
That's my thoughts.
Last year, last November, I went to a EDC, basic workshop. And there was about 150 people in that room with me. And they had people raise their hand in the audience. What cities utilize their Facebook page or their website? And how many liked one or the other? So they did raise your hand if you use the website, if you like it. About half the room did. Other half did the Facebook page. The side that did the Facebook page, and I have nothing against Facebook. I use it every day. I've used it for businesses. I use it for contact. I mean, it's a great way to take communication with your people. But about half of those people that were utilizing a city Facebook page said they wish they had never done it.
No, that's why mine's got a line drawn to it. That's my view.
I like Facebook. I want to make that perfectly clear. I have nothing against it.
Well, and I don't mind it either. I look at it on a daily basis for a lot of different things, but I think in our situation, I just drew a line through mine. That's my view. That's what I think. I mean, that's, everybody else weigh in on it. But,
Well, it's the same as any other outlet, is that, like there's 2 people on ours, there's gonna be a lot of people that don't use Facebook. Then there's gonna be a lot of people that don't use the internet for the website. We've got a big gap there. I don't know if there is an answer.
They're all
There's still
useless.
that gap.
well,
They're useless if they're not used.
I think you're always gonna have that gap.
there's an old saying,
You're always gonna have that gap.
Yeah,
there's an old saying, it's always been around, you can't please everybody.
right.
Okay? So,
There was a gap when you just had telephone. I'm
right,
talking about landlines.
Yeah, true,
party line.
Yeah.
yeah, 40
That's what we
line.
had when I first started, but, I mean, to me, I think, Annette, you're in here, you weigh in on this. I mean, what do you think about our website being something that you guys could actually, y'all could put something on that's useful?
I know sometimes it's hard to post things on the website, we gotta have something user friendly.
So I'm gonna ask both of y'all both have, you have one. Is it hard to put something on there?
They're not user friendly.
They're not.
They're not like just going in and putting a post, or they're not friendly for that. They're,
Okay.
And the main thing is what we post are our agendas, our minutes,
Job
then,
opening.
just general things. Maybe we check with the city of Quinlan and find out who set theirs up and who controls theirs. Do they use a company or do they do it themselves?
No, they use a
company out of California.
Really?
Yes.
I bet it's pretty expensive.
Actually, it's not. That's why I said you're $350 a month. You're paying way too much.
I wonder-
Because that's all you do. You email your documents to them and they put it up on there.
Like if I go out here and I get a drone and in the springtime and I take a big picture of the city park, everything all nice and green, all I gotta do is download that and send that file and they upload it.
Okay,
I wonder if there's a cost for the size. I
Watch it
noticed
download.
I noticed when I was looking at Quinlan today, because I was looking for an agenda that Lauren had told me she had in the past, it only goes back 2 years. It does not cut, there's a cutoff.
Yeah, they're gonna work out. Yes, they
Oh,
are.
yeah.
So,
Yeah, I would say it would archive, but I mean, that 2 year, that's pretty good.
yeah, they got really nice.
So you have a number, okay, so like you have a number on the amount that can go on that page, okay? And so when, kind of like when we built our Facebook page for our firework business, we knew that we couldn't go over, I think it was 124,000
But
bots or something on there. So when every time we put a picture on there, it deleted that down. It deleted it down. So, and we still have probably about, I don't know, 60,000 left. So, you know, it depends on, when you're building a Facebook page, what money you put into it is what you're gonna get out to it. Or, you know, it's what you're gonna get out of it. How nice do you want it to look? You know, if you want the 2 Mile Bridge in the background, if you want the city park in the background, you know, if you want to upload, and my suggestion is that if you're going to do this, you do it where you're showing off your city. A good one to go look at, a good Facebook page to go look at is the City of Leonard.
You're saying Facebook, you mean
I mean, website, sorry, website. A good website to go look at is the City of Leonard. Check theirs out when you get time. It's a really good Facebook page.
All right, we can.
So we need to find out from City of Quinlan, right? On their website.
Yeah,
and I think,
who wants to,
she's already got a note down.
she has no, she's gonna be looking into both, D and, E.
Dee's
Now-
got a line to it.
Now,
Oh, yeah.
Facebook, so y'all wanna take that away?
Dee got shot with an arrow.
Okay.
I do like Facebook though.
I do
think
too,
it's a good way
but
to
I
communicate with
think,
your people. There's some people that don't go look at a website.
Now,
They go immediately to Facebook.
our police department I'm sorry to interrupt
No, it's
you.
okay.
My police department has a Facebook page.
Yes, you do.
We have that to utilize information. We post a lot of stuff on there about COVID. We don't post any any opinions from the police department about any matter that's going on.
Right.
Everything that we post on our Facebook page is strictly information.
so what we're gonna do is we're gonna say, visit the City of West Waukee Police Department Facebook page. We'll put you a little hashtag.
We, you know, talking about the Facebook side of it,
We'll put you a little hashtag on our website,
And
okay?
people comment on your page?
Okay, we'll put you a little hashtag.
And we don't comment on comments either.
Right.
It's strictly for information only.
well, I know the park page, there's, depending on what the event is, sometimes we get thousands of hits on,
Mhm.
I mean, a lot.
Well, maybe we'll get there, but I don't know if.
Now, a lot of those could be, out of towners that are commenting on it. We don't have as many people,
I don't know.
commenting or liking on the Facebook page.
I don't know if we have anybody we can ask to manage it at this point.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I don't think so either.
We need a website, in my opinion, for sure.
Yeah, we need to
It's
website.
functioning.
And we have the citywestwalkme.com out there. If you notice some of the water trucks, it's on the back of it, on the back of the trucks.
All right,
Okay, moving on to, 5F, trash contract. Does anybody, it's a lot of paperwork to go through.
I have it was an email that came to the one for council meetings, but he didn't want it read. He wants to speak to you. This is the other contractor from Ameritech. And here's the phone number he wants you to contact.
Okay,
him.
I think that is that in our,
Yes.
No, I don't think that's in there.
That's his phone number. He wants to speak to you, but I thought of something before we
No, I-
made a decision on.
is this something key?
Yes.
Okay.
On the company we already have. We, normally they go up yearly, I mean, about every other year. And that was kind of put on hold. We don't know what to expect there really, you know, if they're planning on increasing their price because they, you know, set a new fee and come forward with that. The last time, September of 2019, they had a rate increase. This was from Woody. So I would suggest us ask him, you know, are you planning on an increase as well? Because that would be something that we normally pass on to on our water bills with the trash, you know?
So you're talking sanitation solutions?
Mhm.
Okay.
Because we don't know if they're planning on an increase as well with a new contract.
Yeah, none of that was in the paperwork that I saw. Most of what I've got are, this is what kind of company we are, kind of a bio for the company. And then each manager, had their own little bio, and then it had their resume.
He has a price,
I was thinking there was one in there.
Nope, I see out there just trying to use my mask. He's got commercial way, this is, I don't have the placement here, so it's kind of in the middle. It's given residential, but at the top it says a 10% franchise fee on commercials
Right.
or a 15% franchise fee on residential. So, we need to compare what we already are billing in our ordinance.
What we're already building, households, you know what you're talking about? Well, number one on, the poly card, it shows a residential one poly card $11.50. I think aren't we only charging like a few dollars a poly card?
Three, I think.
$3, what we, what they.
Well, I don't understand that $11.50 for a poly
Is
card.
that the proposal where the city makes money?
That,
Yeah, that's where the city makes money on, that's not the,
That's the franchise.
yeah.
Yeah, that's that franchise.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, the pricing for this Ameritex is definitely, there's a difference from what I've seen in the past. I didn't bring my old one for sanitation solutions, but we did have some pricing.
no, I'll give you one.
There's, we got the pricing in the back of it.
Mhm.
Well, that was one thing I forgot. I freaking flew in the house, ate some pizza.
It's better than I did.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I had to pick the pizza up.
I just went out.
I think masks don't make it easy. But,
That's the best, oh, you need one of these, you can't read them.
Oh.
Yeah, but you do this a lot, you do this.
I got home, my daughter said, hey, Dad, did you have a welding mask in the one room?
Oh.
No, I didn't know welding mask in the one room. Well, sister, she got the mask. She said, I got a welding mask. I said, you talking about a clear mask, Maria? She said, yeah, like a welding mask. I said, well, you can't weld with a clear mask. I said, my gosh. Oh, yeah, that's right. So, yeah,
What do we do about,
my blue healer,
she
she
lives there,
she took that mask. But there is a big price difference between the two.
Yeah.
I think the one, I don't know if that's what, caused the price difference, but my understanding is that American Texas trucks way much lighter than the,
They are willing, they're giving us an option for us to do the billing, for commercial and along with our water bill or not. And
with that,
I prefer not to have to do.
well, that's what I was gonna
Right, yeah.
Collection for the commercial.
see, that's just one more, I've already, it's one more process you have to keep up with.
Well, their commercial dumpsters were more. If I remember correctly.
I'm okay with that, it's the citizens, that I wanna make sure we keep it down.
Well,
Under these contracts, the businesses they can't go get their own bids, they gotta use these people.
right, yes, I don't wanna, I'd hate to make somebody mad and they move across the bridge just because our trash tipped them off.
Certainly it's not so much.
Because trust me, there's gonna be some people looking across the bridge.
Well, I understood that Sanitation Solutions has added or has had, cameras on their trucks.
They do.
So to alleviate some confusion as to what time somebody puts something out, their trash or body card out there, that they've got, documentation that shows that, you know, well, we were there. And I've missed trash day before too, just got it, slept in a little later than I wanted to, and didn't get it out. So I know, Sanitation Solutions will give us, I believe it's one 30-yard dump a month.
Yeah.
For no charge. for city cleanup or whatever, something along those
They
lines.
both offer that.
And then they do the, two houses a year.
Tip fees,
Huh?
the tip fees,
Yeah,
yes.
they do the tip fees, yeah, which is, really, really inexpensive to tear down a house.
Yes.
And only charges the tip fee, because you can't find a company that'll, I mean, you're talking $10,000-$20,000 to tear down a house.
If it's built before 1975, we have to do the asbestos test on, it. We have to pay for that.
Yeah, they both have that.
Get 2 tip fees.
Now, one thing I will say is I do know that with sanitation solutions, which hopefully the fire department will stay maybe current with them, but I know that they did not stay current with their donations. So it was like one of those things where we had to ask.
Yeah, you gotta
And
have,
Yeah.
something else I want to add to that,
So,
I saw in here where they also offered scholarships to 2 high school seniors.
Yes, they do that.
Are we
Yes.
Yes. awarding those?
Yes.
Because I watched that award ceremony last year and it did not say City of West Tawakoni Sanitation Solutions. It just said that we weren't given credit for that.
Okay.
I mean, I know that probably didn't make any difference to anybody, but it kind of did to me.
do we
I
know
was
that
just
somebody
wondering
got
if
it?
we were doing that. And it says somewhere in some of those requirements on that, the reason I know this is because I'm a member of another organization that gives scholarships to high school seniors. And, part of it is that you have to live within a certain area or a city. Are we giving those scholarships to West Tawakoni graduating seniors, or are we giving them to seniors in another area?
well, that might be a very valid question because I can tell you this, Sanitation Solutions also does trash for the city of Cleveland.
Right.
So they might just be piggybacking and giving
See,
2
so I don't
scholarships
think I met
to
you,
Fort High
they come
School.
to you,
Yeah.
because when
Yeah,
we do
yeah.
that, in that process, it's a long, arduous
Yeah.
process that those kids have to go through to
They
get a
could be
scholarship.
just giving 2 scholarships to Fort High School and they're getting off a little easy whenever they should be giving one for the city of Quinlan,
And
one
one
for
for
the
us.
city of West
They
Tawakoni.
can have to live
Well, you
in
just
our
don't
city.
have kids that live here that go to Quinlan ISD. We have kids live here too that go to Bolton.
Right.
That's very, very true.
But that all falls in when you're filling out the application for the scholarship itself. And you have to go through the counselors. It's a long process to do a scholarship for a kid.
I think like this one here just says they must live in the city limits.
Yes,
Doesn't say
like
where,
West Tawakoni.
doesn't say where they're going to school.
Right.
Is there a different rate? One thing I didn't notice or see in any of these. Is there a different rate?
You're
For,
looking at, if you take,
I'm talking,
And
let me finish what I'm saying. Is there a different rate for people that live within the city limits versus people that live outside of the city limits within town?
The ones that are in the city, or they have, sales tax, excuse me. The ones outside, they're not charged tax, but that's on us, that's not the,
Is it the same rate, whatever the trash, I can't even think
Yes.
of how much their trash bill is on the water.
yeah, it is.
It's the same.
It's the same rate, but there's a difference of sales tax in and out.
See, we're missing the boat on that.
Well, we can't charge if they're not in the city.
If they're receiving our service,
They're
we should
receiving
be.
water service.
And most water companies, most cities, the difference in, people, like, I'll just use water, for instance. People that live inside of the city limits of West Tawakoni, pay $1 and is the same amount charged to the people that live in the county part of the city. It should be double. The most cities do double the amount. In other words, if our basic water bill before you turn on the faucet is $70 or $80, a lot of cities double that rate, for people that live outside of the county. I mean, outside of the city, in the county,
Yeah,
within the
we
city.
have inside and outside rates for water, yes, and the outside rates are higher
Okay,
for the water.
okay.
And there's a couple that have sewer that are outside the city, and there are more as well, there's not many. But we don't have a difference in the garbage, and that was set in our ordinance years ago. It's the same rate,
Okay.
so we would have to, work on changing the ordinance if we wanted to do that.
So for the trash though, you can't make them take the service. They're not in the city.
The way the ordinance was set up, if you have water, then you will have garbage, even if you're in the county. But if you do not want it, you have to notify us and we will definitely not bill you. It's not mandatory, but you can ask not to be billed for it.
That's for non-county.
And there is one area, which is Camp Caddo, they asked us not to have the garbage truck go down there because they maintain their own roads and they do not want the garbage truck to pass on the road. So they, I believe, at this point, they used to have a dumpster at the end of the road, which, I don't know if they still do or not, but they just did not want the larger trucks going down there.
Well, we're gonna have to put it on a council meeting to approve something, but
When do y'all,
Is it,
would be a day to do that? Are we on any kind of a time crunch with sanitation solutions? Or is it just our contracts up for renewal?
Yeah, it's up for renewal, and, I think maybe we need to get them, we need to have more time to review these.
Yes, yeah.
And, see what we're billing and then get them to give us actually a presentation so y'all can ask these questions.
Okay, and
You know,
do we all wanna just leave here tonight with the information? Or does one person wanna, coordinate with, sanitation solutions, one with Ameritech, and there's another waste connections or something, I forget the name of it now.
Do you want them here to make
Waste
that
Connections
presentation?
is Sanitation Solutions, and Sanitation Solutions will come in here and do a presentation with us.
yes, and that.
Paul will come up here and,
And I think
Is that his
would
name,
be
Paul?
good.
Woody,
we,
Always.
well,
Would he come up here?
Yes.
I mean, they can do it by Zoom, they can do it by here, I would think. I mean, either way, right?
Mhm.
We could talk to them by Zoom, but I think we need to get a presentation from them, but,
They were prepared to do it. We're the one that asked them to table it so we could get through the budget.
Hey, Kevin,
ma'am,
I just found that number and I sent it to your phone.
okay, thank you.
Can't find that other company.
The one you're looking for, Mayor, is Sanitation Solutions.
What?
It is Sanitation Solutions.
No.
They have two names. And until you get a hold of them, you're thinking you got a whole different company.
Is there a person we need to talk to?
Woody,
No, M for Mark.
What?
M for Mark?
Oh. That, what was it regarding?
The water.
That was-
Oh, yeah, the water, yeah. the
Contract.
grant.
Thank you,
The
Rhonda.
grant for the vehicles.
You're welcome. I can't think of his name.
That's
I have it on
okay.
my desk.
That's okay. Thank you for that info.
But if you, call them and tell them that, because we had talked to them before about one Tawakoni, and, apparently they never got a call back because we took cash and it just never went any further.
Okay.
We had to do it.
So, where are we at on the trash thing? Sorry.
Well, where we were at was talking about, giving us some more time to review the contracts and then possibly put it on, a December, January, regular city council meetings where we can discuss and take action.
Are you gonna put it
Provided
on
we get a presentation.
I was gonna say December is the bonus and,
December's
that would be-
Tuesday.
Yeah, that's, oh, okay, there's no way we can do that.
You'd have to put it on January's,
January or February. so
January's,
That'll work for January.
Maybe they could do the presentation in January and then we put it
maybe
on
December,
February
February,
budget and then,
maybe.
so we're gonna get the two or, there's three company names, two of them are owned by the same people. Okay.
Yeah, the sanitation solutions is, yes,
And that's just.
solid, but, yeah,
Waste Collections.
and disposal, yeah.
And then there's that letter that,
From Ameritech.
yeah, Clayton Vickers of America.
So we're good on the trash for now?
Ameritech, something about two brothers, they're a lot smaller company.
If I understand it right, they have smaller trucks for our roads that are already tore up.
Well, I don't think that's gonna help any, because you still got all that same amount of trash. If the truck doesn't hold enough, you're gonna make more trips. Well, I know, they're still gonna be running up down the road.
It's still a ladder truck though, is what, I think what Chris is saying.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at.
Well,
Ladder truck running up and down these roads tearing them up.
Yeah, but what is, yeah, that's kind of catch 22.
You know, how you figure that? My question is, Tim, is they gonna have to make a big investment to be able to handle it? Do they have enough equipment to take on our city?
Most of their cities are small.
Are they gonna be able to do a tip?
Yeah,
I'm planning on maxing out those, I'm planning on using those tip fees every year,
They have it in there.
at least two.
I sure would like to, like say, readdress 424.
Okay.
I mean, it, man, I hate that.
We got-
Everybody does.
Now, they have the plan where the city makes money.
The franchise,
Yeah.
Oh, Veritex, or you doing something?
We have two plan options, I think.
Yeah. Okay,
$25,000 a year on this one.
so do we want to go ahead and put it on, January? You want to put it on January?
I think we at least want to get the presentation in January at a minimum, but
Okay,
we might
so-
make a decision, right, as a council.
Presentation, January. Discuss and take action, February. Okay, any other comments,
Yes,
concerns?
I got something I wanna run by.
Yeah.
The, city of Corsicana, they charge $8 a house on the water bill, and they use all that money for fixing roads. Right now, they're at $8, I can't remember how many people they got. I called down there and talked to their city administrator a year ago, they bring in like right at $1 million a year for their roads. She said that we need $1.5 million.
Yeah, people live there, a lot of people.
Well, right, but I'm just saying, if you charge $10 on the water bill, you can only do it to the ones in the city, but I do believe there's not anybody that lives in this town that thought if their roads were gonna be better maintained, they wouldn't give $10 a month. I just don't believe they would.
There's some people,
Well, I know you can always say some won't, but most people would. I'd give 20 a month to get mine fixed all the time. And, and that could bring in, $70, $80, $90,000 a year. Just to fix roads.
yeah.
That's what the money goes to. It can't go for anything else. It's just an idea, and it works good.
But that's on their water, we're talking trash.
I understand. You just said, has anybody else got any comments?
Okay.
That was my comment.
I think it's worth looking into.
Okay, moving on to, 5G, city hours for operation. And yet had a brief discussion on Wednesday, I guess it was. Have you thought about that anymore? And I got, well, we got it, I don't know when you would have thought about it. It's not a turkey.
You had mentioned, not closing City Hall, that is not a problem. I mean, we can stagger our lunches, that's not a problem. My question is, Leanne, okay, we would have Kim, that would have to go at one time for court to make sure that wasn't protected, or, same way with Cody, we just have to work it out, and as far as our phone system, you're in here, you can't hear the other phone, so it's not that we're not answering the phone, you can't hear it in other places.
Is there any way to rectify that?
That,
Is it possible?
well, if you transfer that line, then, it's it's only gonna go there for that point in time, but I, we can work on it.
Well, I mean, the only reason there's just I hear a lot of complaints about, they come up here to pay a water bill, and it's happened to us too, at an odd time. Sometimes it's hard to get out, if somebody's gonna go to lunch at 11 o'clock, sometimes it's hard to get out there at exactly 11 o'clock. For instance, you're dealing with a customer, whether it be land issuing some kind of permit or doing something with courts. You can't just get up and leave that person at 11 o'clock. Sometimes it's gonna go over. But as long as there's somebody here during the day, that would satisfy a lot of citizens that are frustrated with the fact that they can't get into City Hall during lunch hours.
Yeah.
And that's where that came from.
A lot of people are trying to do some business on their lunch hour.
Yeah.
At one of the places that I worked many years ago, we took it where all the girls in the office took a week. So that week you knew you were gonna be taking care of all the, you were gonna be the one that was the person on call or the contact person. And then the next week it shifted to the next person. And that way that the other three, if they had something that they had to go do, plans or whatever, they had the time to go do that.
So it
And
broke
that,
the
and that
monotony.
one person knew that she was gonna be responsible and she could schedule around it. That's how we did it. It worked for us, but I mean, I don't know how it would work out here.
I kind of like that, breaks the monotony, because because if you do it to where, let's say, Leanne's lunch hour became 1 o'clock, hers was 12 and Cody's was 11, well, at some point, that's gonna start sucking. 1 o'clock's gonna not be worth crud, because there's something you want to do at 12 if you could have got to go at 12.
Yeah.
It worked.
I kinda like
It
that. I'm
worked,
glad you
it
brought
worked
that up.
great for us.
That breaks the
Yeah,
monotony.
and that's
Yeah.
something that they
Cause like
would.
Kim has court at a certain time of the month. Well, that week she probably couldn't do that.
Yeah.
So she could schedule her. And we also, we were flexible enough that if we couldn't do it that week, that we would trade off with someone else. But it really worked good for us to do that.
Fortunately, we only got 4 people we're talking about,
Yeah.
so it could be a real nightmare.
Those don't sound like good ideas.
Okay, so, any other questions or
We
discussions
can set the
regarding?
hours. The problem that some of the girls feel like, well, we only have a 30-minute lunch, okay? But our guys go out here and take an hour lunch, we don't leave, we eat our lunch here. It's really not fair. They're not taking what we're doing. And we here recently went to Rancheros. We called our lunch in. We walked in and got it. And our water guys are going, how'd you do this? We called it in. Called it in and we knew it was gonna be there when we got there because we had 30 minutes. And sure enough, we were in and out. And they're still having to wait, that we don't have any options around here. So most of the time we bring our lunch.
Yeah.
But
I think we should leave it alone and close for lunch like normal cities. It sounds like, I don't want to borderline, micromanaging, your district attorney's office, county attorney's office, and other cities are closed at lunch. It's kind of standard.
if we close, I understand where the council is. I understand where the council is coming from as far as if we close for lunch, then we need to do it at a set time. We need to do it, say, from 12 to 12:30, and that's it.
But most people don't know, I mean, I think a lot of people don't know what that lunch hour is. Sometimes, like I said, instead of everybody going at noon, sometimes it ends up being 12:15, 12:20 or something like that. And, the other.
If customers are in here, you're not gonna leave,
Well,
knock them out, go, it's lunchtime, we gotta go right now.
exactly, but for those, if we post it that lunch is from noon to 12:30, and you don't get out of here for 10, 15 minutes afterwards, there's gonna be people waiting at the door at 12:30, waiting to do business, and they can't because, some unforeseen circumstance, caused, the lunch hour to be pushed back. And there's a lot of cities, that are open all day long. I mean, yeah, there's some that do close or some that don't close. But right now, there's a lot of issues that citizens have in this city, about the way that we conduct business. And we've got to start showing these citizens that, one, we're listening, and two, we're taking heed to their suggestions or their complaints, and we have to show them some sort of progress. We can't
We
just
can
keep,
show progress without micromanaging our staff.
nobody's micromanaging anything. We're talking a lunch hour, that's not micromanaging.
We're not asking them to work more, we're just asking
Yeah.
them, we're just asking them to change how we're, you know,
Exactly.
laying our day out.
To leave the front door open.
If we had, if it was perfect world, the
No,
website worked good.
Hold on.
Hang on. What, Rhonda?
About it, so.
Rhonda, start over with you.
I haven't discussed any of that, with anyone, like, obviously the mayor has, I was unaware that their lunch break was changing from time to time. I just know how it is, you know, for me, and sometimes if I have a customer in there, I'm not gonna talk that customer out. And without fail, some citizen comes and says, well, I came down there at 12:30 and there was nobody there. Well, right, because we normally, you know, are gone during that time, but somebody else is here, so our lunch hour changes. But if you keep the staff inside, you know, like I heard Annette say that generally they eat inside, you're still not really getting your lunch because you're having to still get up and answer the phone or take care of some business. So they're not really getting the break. That's why I refer to it as micromanaging, because they're not getting the break if they're expected to be here all through their lunch and the lunch is interrupted.
No, we weren't asking everybody to stay here during their lunch. What we were asking was, let's just look at it this way. You've got 4 people in the office, right? We would start taking lunches somewhere, let's call it at 11 o'clock. So if somebody takes a lunch from 11 to 11:30, next one takes a lunch from 11:30 to 12, next one takes lunch from 12 to 12:30, the last one takes lunch from 12:30 to 1. That's hypothetical. I'm just trying to kind of paint you a picture of what the idea was.
Exactly.
And
That painting, you know, that makes sense. I was referring to what Annette had said about how generally they were here for their lunches. So let's say I come down here, you know, at a particular time, I think that offers more confusion. Well, I might want to get a permit, or I need to talk to the city secretary because I need an open records request. You know, that just sounds a little confusing. Maybe it's just me, I like to keep it simple, stupid method.
she was figuratively speaking of kind of how they do it now. They typically just take their lunch here is what she was saying.
Right.
Well, you can do it 2 and 2.
Can I ask you a
Yeah,
question?
and I'm trying to start an argument.
Well, you're doing a good job.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that all you got, Rhonda?
That's all I got, so.
Okay, how about you, Brandon? You brought up something.
I think that you get a better quality of work out of an employee when you give them that downtime from being at work. I think it gives them a chance to recharge, to do, if they have dealt with something during the day, they can deal with that, put that behind them. I think it keeps them on task. So why don't we give them an hour?
Well, they're
The
gonna
other
be
cities
short.
give them an hour. I think that's enough time for an employee to recharge down and to recharge your batteries and focus on what they're doing.
I don't have a problem with that. 30 minutes goes really fast.
It goes fast, and I'll tell you why. Like Annette
We
said,
don't want our hours changed though.
I understand that, but you don't have a lot of options to eat out here. You don't.
No, you don't. But
By the time you get in your car and you go to Quinlan and you come back, you're done.
Yeah.
You're done. And you have an employee that may want to go by the bank,
Just a minute, Rhonda.
that may want to cash a check, that may need to run into Walmart and pick up a prescription when they can't do that while they're at lunch. That's just a thought. It's just a
I'm,
thought.
I'm open to
How long
that
do you
too.
take for lunch?
I take an hour, absolutely. Cause I don't get 2 15-minute breaks.
But the bad thing is like Annette saying, they don't want their hours to change.
Well, I
To make it
understand.
30 minutes difference. Rhonda, you had something?
Yeah, I was just thinking, I am a municipal employee, so it's like that's kind of close to home to me too, because we do get those complaints. So I like what Brandon said, for me as a municipal employee, whenever that lunch comes, I want out of here. We got a hard day, we got slammed, people coming, we're all all day long. And, that, even though if it is just an hour, it shouldn't be 30 minutes, it should be an hour, but I look forward to, get me out of this building.
And I don't disagree with you. I've been in the same shoes before in some of my jobs, and sometimes it's been an hour, sometimes it's been 30 minutes. And here's the thing that I want to make sure we're not all looking past. Pretty much everybody that's working here at the moment, when they came into it, they knew that they were working from 7 to 4:30 or 7:30 to 4:30 with a 30-minute lunch. I mean, 8 to 4:30 with a 30-minute lunch. They knew that coming into it, so that's kind of what their mindset was already. Now, I understand, and I don't disagree with you, Brandon, that 30 minutes is very short, because I've been in 30-minute lunch situations, but sometimes you have to make preparations to adhere to whatever it is that you're doing. Now, I don't mind us entertaining the idea of an hour lunch, but at the end of the day, we still have to do what's right by our citizens, and if we're gonna give our people an hour lunch, the citizens are paying their taxes and everything, and it's for our people that are working here at the city to work 8 hours. I
Yeah.
mean, let's just be realistic
Well,
there.
what you didn't
But-
do is pushing their time up to 5
Micromanaging,
o'clock.
that's micromanaging.
How is that micromanaging?
It's just like you're not taking into consideration the employees' needs or want. I get what the public wants, but let's face it, you can line their driveways with gold bricks and they're not going to be happy. They're gonna find something to complain about because it's.
Hold on just a minute, Rhonda, let me do a little exercise here for you. So Leanne, I'm gonna ask you a question, and if you don't wanna answer, it's fine. But when you were hired, were you told what your hours of operation would be at work?
Yes, sir.
And you were told you would have a 30-minute lunch?
Correct.
So that equaled a how many hour workday?
8.
That equaled 8 hours
Eight,
workday.
mhm.
So you agreed to work 8 hours a day, right?
Correct.
How is that micromanaging?
I didn't say it was. I said that the attitude that you were throwing across there sounds like micromanaging, that you're not taking into consideration.
Well, I apologize if it sounded that way, but it may be because we're in different rooms, because I didn't get the same look off everybody's face in here, but I apologize for that. I'm not trying to micromanage at all. I want to make sure we're doing right by labor boards and we're doing right by employees and by citizens.
Absolutely, and like I said again, I'm looking at it probably different than everybody else in that room because I'm a municipal employee. And I know what it feels like to have council come in and decide what we're going to do or how they're going to change how we do things, and it's very disconcerting and it's very stressful at times. I just want to make sure that we're taking all that into account. I'm not arguing the point about if it's a 30-minute lunch. I disagree with a 30-minute lunch personally, unless you bring your lunch. It's very difficult to work, and sometimes if you go out, it's hard to get it done in an hour.
Yeah, but Rhonda,
Again, from the perspective of a municipal employee, there are times when we are slammed to the wall, when I really look forward to just walking out the door, for that 30 minutes or an hour.
Rhonda, I understand that, but in a supervisor's position that you've been in and you're currently in, I would hope you would understand that if you hire somebody and you tell them, I'm hiring you and I expect you to work from this time to this time, and your lunch is gonna be this time to this time, you would ask them to adhere to that, correct?
Probably.
Okay.
There's no need in jumping into death with it.
Okay. I don't have anything else, Mayor.
I don't need, anybody else got any other input? And let's move on to, line item 5H, city administrator, upcoming interview. I guess Chris would probably be the only one here that would have a copy of the resume, and you and I talked today.
Actually, what what we need here is to set our date.
Yeah, we
Yes.
Yeah.
We need to set our date for the, because I have not reached out to ask anybody of, you know, are you good for this day or that day? That's what, the only one I have is Leon. And he is good mainly next Thursday.
Leon,
Push it, yeah, if you, any further than that, it's too close to Christmas for me.
What is the, Wednesday?
We
December,
gotta fill lots of bottles.
next Wednesday,
Uh-huh.
the
be
ninth,
December the 9th,
Not,
No, Thursday,
So
Thursday's the
December
10th.
Thursday.
10th,
the 10th.
December 10th.
well, the first Thursday's the third. So the first Thursday of December is the third, the second Thursday is the 10th.
That's right.
So December the 10th, and what time?
I mean, we got an interview.
Three.
there's gonna be three, I think.
Three.
And,
go three? Because some of them did not send their, packets back, and some of them withdrew their applications.
one of them said he got a job, and one of them said he wasn't interested anymore.
So you're down to three.
And one of them can't, make the meeting on the 10th.
No,
No.
Are y'all saying we're down to 3 applicants?
Yes.
Yes.
Boy, that went quick.
Well, it's because
Drag it on.
Yeah,
we just
it's
didn't
taken
address
so
it when
long.
it
it
needed
should
to
have been
be.
done months ago.
Well, I think some of it is you're now at the point where you're forcing people's hand to make a decision, you want this or not. So, you know, sometimes people put in an application for a job thinking, well, this may seem interesting, but when it comes down to actually the point where they have to make a decision whether or not they want to interview for it, sometimes people just back out of that.
But how long has it been since they put in the application?
We started we had to wait for the posting to close. So we ran the posting when the posting closed. So we've been working on this for about
Actually,
months?
It's,
month and a half.
it started like in May.
If you're looking for a job, you're not gonna sit down 2 months waiting on one.
Oh, I agree.
No, actually, it wasn't May, it was
No.
July.
Yeah, it was July when we started, and when we started, then we went through the COVID thing where we had to shut everything down. The city hall was locked and closed for 3 months. We drug it on too long, we did.
Yeah. Exactly, yeah.
Well, I
So-
mean, I would say we would at least look at what we have and deliberate and be able to say one way or another with the ones we have.
So we may have to go back and repost.
I mean, you may have to repost it if you
And
do,
then
that's
we make a
fine.
formative decision there. So we have 3 that have agreed to come on Thursday.
No, I haven't called them.
So
That's
we have
why-
three
what I
that-
was asking for.
We have 3 that maybe we ask and see if they'll come
One
Thursday.
of them won't come through.
Okay.
So that Thursday, December 10th, is
Yeah.
that right?
Would you be able to do that?
Can that person come on Wednesday?
Yeah.
Oh,
Put it for Wednesday, but it needs to be about, if there's only 3 of them, we can push it up to like 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock. Instead of 1 o'clock.
yeah, we should be able to do that.
What day?
No,
Wednesday, the
The 9th.
9th, Wednesday, December 9th, 3 o'clock.
December 9th at 3 p.m.
Yes, ma'am. Could you do that?
uh, 12, 9, and 3 o'clock.
Did you say you think so?
Yeah, I think I
Okay.
can do that.
Okay,
Okay, I will,
let's see what we can do.
I've got a doctor's appointment tomorrow. I'll get you to reach out to them and see if they're available then,
I'll do it.
if you can. And,
Well,
we'll,
that's our special session, right?
it's actually executive.
That's
session.
Yeah.
Oh, executive, yeah, right, it would be.
It'll be executive session. We'll actually be interviewing these candidates.
But you won't get up and leave this room to go to the back. So your executive session is just gonna be right here.
Mhm.
Yeah, we'll bring them.
And, in the copy that, I give you a second copy of that, it was the same thing.
What are you talking about?
Oh, no, on the city administrator job description, at one point, the council had asked our current city administrator to go through this job description, and you can see here where there's some lines that are marked out. Those are the only things that were taken out.
That was like about a year, a little over a year ago.
And it was never completed, so, you know, is this person takes this position, there may be, other jobs or other duties that want to be included in that job.
Right.
So,
I mean, they may want to take more under their umbrella than.
I hope
They
so.
may have to. They may have to.
I hope they take a lot.
I have a question about your executive session.
Yes, sir.
Sometimes when we interview police officers, we record it so we can go back and look at it later
We can't
to
do
see
that.
how they answer a question. We can't do that with this? Okay.
Why is that?
You cannot record.
Because it's not open to the public.
That's why you have to sign a certified agenda that nothing
Okay.
was discussed.
Yeah,
Because it's in an executive session.
well,
Oh, executive, yeah.
and with that kind
That
of,
was a stupid question.
with that kind of job, the reason why yours is because
Yeah.
the job description
I
that
didn't
you
think
have.
about that.
But in this kind of job, no, it would be just like any business person that I've ever interviewed.
Yeah.
If I recorded them or anything, it would be against the law.
Would we be able to have copies of their applications so we can look at them and get it?
Yes, I plan on sending that in separate
All right, does that complete H?
council.
Just now.
Yes, ma'am?
Do we have an ordinance in effect, for the city administrator's position, and if so, can we get copies of that?
An order.
Or can I get a copy of it? Yeah, an ordinance, outlining what the city, not just the job description, but is there an ordinance in place for the office of city administrator?
There is an ordinance that establishes that position, yeah.
Can you get us a copy of that?
Good question, Rhonda.
In 1994, the city council established the position. Says it right there under authorization.
Yeah. All right,
I just wanna see the ordinance related to it.
yeah. Is that it? And all the,
I'm taking this.
no other question, Rick? Okay, Sheriff, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
And
All right, citizens input.
No,
Oh, it's the citizens, I'm sorry, but I already put my agenda
Okay,
done.
Make a motion to adjourn.
I second.
up. All in favor?
Leon Meyer.
Kevin Featherston.
Or Mike.
Chris Burkett.
And it's
Hey, Brandon.
Mayor, it's 8.